you ever wonder what makes a great gamer? Whether you just started or have been enjoying video games all your life, great gaming is not only about cheering on our teammates, but also being there to pick us up when we're down.
Guardian down.
This hobby is a part of our life, and whatever we decide to play, let's all remember to be good to each other. We're a Destiny 2 podcast that focuses on three things: promoting a positive gaming community, sharing news around the industry and Destiny 2, and discussing thought-provoking topics in the game. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. What's up, Guardian? Welcome to episode 309 of Guardian Downcast. I'm your host, ToddtheGatr, and I'm a Day One Guardian who loves gaming and especially the Destiny franchise. We're the podcast that's all about your stories, your community, and your destiny. This week, at the time I'm recording this, I've returned back home to the good old US of A and reflecting on my past week. Still a little bit hoarse from all the singing at the Elbow concert that I watched with my UK brother, Heyoka. Kingsley has the week off again, and I'm sure he's getting in his Assassin's Creed and Division 2 game time. So it's just you and me again this week. We'll be back to our live shows this upcoming week with a new guest of the show, and I cannot wait to see and talk with all of you guys again in the chat and in the Discord. In this episode, I will first share my week in which I met many of our UK Guardian Downcast members at my very first meetup event. Next, I will go over the latest news from this week in Destiny, which explains how our melee system and abilities will be changing in the Edge of Fate, which, by the way, is only 4 weeks away now. They also mention the changes coming to our exotic armor as well, with some special tuning that you may not want to miss. Then, as a bonus for this week's episode, I'm going to share some of my favorite behind-the-scenes outtakes from our past shows. These are clips that I've never been shared publicly, but I did use them in some of our past special Patreon episodes. So if you're a patron of the show, first of all, thank you. You might be familiar with some of these. Today's clips will be part 2, and if you didn't catch part 1, go back and listen to them in the last week's episode. I really hope you guys enjoy them. Finally, before I go, I'll be sharing my very first episode of my new podcast, 50 Years Experience Required. Last week, I shared an episode 0 teaser of the podcast. And if you didn't catch that one, again, go back to last week's show and it'll explain why I decided to pull the trigger and create this new kind of side podcast, I guess you could say. I just got back in from Heathrow, London, and I'm sitting in my office sipping a cup of joe, reflecting on my week with a smile. So if everyone's ready, let's roll.
Hey, thanks for listening to Guardian Downcast. There are several ways you can contact us. First, you can find us on X at Guardian Downcast. Or you can find us on our Instagram at Guardian Downcast and see what pics and reels ToddtheGatr and his podcast guests want to share with you guys. We have a brand new website too. Just visit guardiandowncast.com, where you can find all of our contact info, leave us a voicemail, give our show a rating or review, search for any past episodes, or even give back to our community. Also, don't forget to sign up for future updates to the show, where we'll also have random drawings throughout the year, and you may win a gift card or even some GDC merch. And finally, you can send us an email at guardiandowncast@gmail.com. Our community thrives on interaction, so get involved and check us out.
You know, when this segment comes up in the show, I'll usually review movies or streaming shows and, tell you whether something is worth watching or to not waste your time. This week, I'm reviewing my trip to the UK. For those of you thinking about making the trip someday. I'll be sharing our day-to-day activities, but also providing some really valuable intel that may save you a little bit of frustration if you decide to make the trip across the pond. When we visited the UK 18 years ago, we were at a time in our lives of being newer parents. But when an opportunity to get a free timeshare from my sister came up, we grabbed the chance to make the trip. Just my wife and I. My family was very nice and able to watch our 2 young kids back then. We visited London for several days, visited Stonehenge. Some of you have seen the pics in the Discord. and finally all the way south to Brighton Beach. This trip, we decided to stick to one area of the UK called the Midlands. I arrived in the UK last Friday, June 13th. Yes, I know, Friday the 13th, but I didn't let it bother me, and I'm not typically superstitious, usually. Let's just say once the wheels hit the tarmac in the UK, I was able to exhale and breathe again. The flight was almost exactly 9 hours from Orlando, Florida. We left Orlando about 6 p.m. and arrived in London Heathrow Airport around 7 a.m. Remember, we also lose 5 hours on our trip over. We flew Virgin Atlantic, and I must say that even in economy, the flight was fantastic, regardless of the long flight sitting in one place, which I'm very surprised I did twice. There was tons of movies and other entertainment to watch on the individual screen per seat. You know, most airlines have that stuff. I also downloaded some movies and shows from my Netflix account to my iPad as well. But just so you know, Wi-Fi was available. You could either pay per hour or for the entire flight, which was about £20. I chose not to use it. The food and drink service was the best I've ever gotten on a flight. I've flown a lot of airlines over my life. Delta, JetBlue, American, Allegiant, British Airways, and yes, even Frontier and Spirit Airlines. But nothing as good as we were treated on Virgin Atlantic. Polite staff, 2 full meals, and 2 snacks in between with an occasional beverage service as well. The food was very good quality and very filling. Superb. A++. As far as a rental car, I did decide to drive in the UK. We got a free upgrade to a Mercedes A-Series hatchback using Eurocar, which was kind of nice versus the Ford Focus that we had requested. Hey, I would consider myself a pretty tech-savvy dude, but when we got in the Merc, it was loaded with buttons and knobs and all kinds of little gadgets and I called them toys. And it took me about 25 minutes just to understand where everything was that I needed to drive the damn car. To start, there was no shift knob in the center console to put the thing into drive. I found out later it was integrated into the lever on the right of the column that operated the headlights. It's crazy. There's some buttons I still don't know what they do on the dash. On the heads-up display. They did put a temporary hold on my credit card for $500 for any potential damage or liability to the car. It's been 3 days now since I've been home, and the charge is still pending on my card, but it should fall off soon, so be prepared for that if you decide to rent a car there. We finally arrived at our home base in Bristol, about 2 hours away from Heathrow Airport at an independent motel called Molly's. There was a separate Molly's diner as well that we ate at several times for breakfast and dinner. The prices were average and the food was varied from hamburgers to ribeye steak to English breakfast, and my wife had no issues with food for her vegetarian needs. Service from the staff was very mixed. The main greeter at the door who seats you, get you a seat and get you set up, they were very nice, very cordial, struck up even a slight conversation with you. It was very, very good way to start, but it was very hit or miss when it came to your waiter or waitress. One waitress on one occasion when we ate there for dinner, she took her order and we decided to add some pie to for dessert afterwards, and we never got one piece of pie. And when I tried to find her, she never came back. I mean, I don't know, maybe she was on a smoke break. I don't know. So the way they do things in the UK is there's a QR code permanently on the table, and you can scan that with your phone, with your camera, and just pay for the bill and leave. Same thing with like Outback today. They have a little kiosk thing on top of the table, but this has just a permanent QR code in the table. A lot of places were that way in the UK. The place was very clean though, and some wait staff was better, but we did get another waitress who just didn't seem to want to be there. I don't know what's going on there, but oh well. The hotel has a very warm feel. There's wood theme everywhere, and it kind of gives you that homey kind of country vibe with a little bit of modern appeal. There's wood floors in all the rooms, and the halls are nice, dark green carpeted. The cleaning staff was on point, and the room was made up nicely every day without fail. The one negative though, no elevator. only stairs. And I don't know about you, but when you got a 100-pound suitcase, even if it is on wheels, it is not designed to be drug up a staircase. That was a pain in the ass. And pulling those bags up to our second level room, there's 4 stories, I believe, total, was just not a good start to the day. This is the first motel that I've been to that has never had an elevator. That's just crazy. I can't think of any place that has not a lift for, even just the mobility impaired people out there. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. The main lobby was very quaint. They had very friendly staff that would greet you when you came in. There's also free coffee. You could hang out, nice lounge areas if you want to, talk to some other people or meet up with some people before going to dinner or something. It was kind of nice for that. Nice atmosphere, very quiet. But there were no free continental breakfasts. I know in America, we love our free continental breakfast at hotel chains, but that was not to be had at this hotel. We had to eat either at the diner in front of the hotel, Molly's Diner, or we had to go elsewhere for food. But the beauty and feel of the hotel and the hip vibes we got from it kind of offset all the inconveniences overall, though. Our first day was Saturday, and we met with our friend Heyoka at a very special rest stop off the M5 motorway. This place had full food service inside, and they had a little part of the rest area called the farmhouse that had all kinds of sweets and treats. I mean, just the most lavish, chocolatey stuff you can ever imagine. Tarts, donut-filled pastries, did I say tarts? Yeah, I love tarts. Tarts were awesome. They had a Scotch egg. I mean, a lot of things that I've never tried before, but I was kind of in awe when we got there. Heyoka, spot on, buddy. That was a fantastic place and had a really good appeal. But we did decide to get a mocha and a latte. They had a full coffee bar there as well. And we talked with Heyoka before arriving at the GDC UK meetup. And someone stopped by to surprise me. That was Mr. Hades. And it was a very nice way to start the day, to say the least. I then followed Heyoka and Hades to Stratford-upon-Avon as we had a full table reserved for all of us in the Pen and Parchment pub. It was a very old and had great charm. And it was a very fun meetup, and I'll talk more about the meetup later in the show. Stratford is the birthplace of William Shakespeare, which is very cool. There are a lot of small little shops all over the town, and then suddenly, bam, right in the middle of the shops, there's Shakespeare's childhood home. It did not look like it was in the right place. I mean, it had seen better days. It was very, very old, and compared to the shops, which were much newer, it kind of like stuck out like a sore thumb, which I guess was the intent, right? The next day, Sunday, Father's Day, we had decided to visit Cardiff, Wales, and visit Cardiff Castle, which has a full band shell inside it where a lot of very high-profile musicians perform every week. We paid for a guided tour of the inside areas of the castle where Robert II of Wales was the richest man in the world at the time. He was a coal baron, and every wall and roof area was lined with gold flakes. That tour was very fun. The guide was an older gentleman who you could tell, when you can tell people really love what they do for a living. This guy really loved it. And he fully explained every little detail in the rooms that you would go into, pointing out all the key parts, and each room kind of had a theme to it. My favorite room is the Arab room. I've never seen so much beauty and adornment in one room. Certainly don't miss this if you're at the castle. Well worth the money. I think we paid £15 each for the general entry to the castle, but the tour was only another $5, I think. It was the best £5 I ever spent. We also visited the bomb shelters from World War II, where endless hallways under the castle sheltered the English and Welsh people during the bombing raids from Germany in the 1940s. They even played live broadcasts within the tunnels, and it made you kind of feel like you were in the moment, back when they were bombing over the UK. The original posters of the war, or at least replicas of them, were posted throughout the shelters as you were walking down these enormous hallways. It was included in the admission to the castle, so definitely don't miss that as well. While in Cardiff, we then ate lunch at a narrow hallway of shops and pubs within a main building with beautiful natural light from glass panels in the ceilings, and they called these arcades. They were built in the 1800s. This was a very memorable moment for the day, and the food was fantastic. We went into a little pub there where the full entree was made entirely from a huge baked potato, but they loaded it with all kinds of chili and vegetables, and I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic meal. The city center of Cardiff was very nice as well, had lots of pubs and very old established pubs and shops as well. So, great place to go if you want to go shopping and stuff. That's definitely the city to go to. Then came Monday. We visited Cheddar Gorge. This is a city that sits on the bottom of a large gorge, and it has many caves that you can go into. The full pass, which if you want to, go to all the attractions there, it includes the caves, the stairway out of the gorge called Jacob's Ladder, and a 3-hour hiking trail atop the city where you look out on all parts of England, England. It cost us about £25 each, which seems kind of pricey, but that £25 covered us for the whole day. We went into a cave called Coff's Cave, which was very well lit and had some outstanding features, including areas where the cheddar cheese is aged. Fun fact, this is the city where cheddar cheese was born a long time ago. And I don't know about you, but cheddar cheese is one of my favorite cheeses. But it was really cool. They actually put them and age them in these like vaults built into these caves. Really cool stuff to see. For lunch, I went to a little roadside cafe inside the gorge, inside the city in the gorge. I had an enormous club sandwich, was kind of their signature sandwich there. And of course, it was just draped with cheddar cheese. It was very nice. I'll never forget just sitting there enjoying the beautiful weather and just very open air, very, very open. The little slight breeze coming in. It was just perfect, man. It was just a perfect place to just hang out. It was kind of quaint, very quiet, not many people in there. But if you ever go to Cheddar Gorge, make sure you stop and eat at one of those little cafes. We climbed Jacob's Ladder and hiked the upper gorge trails as well. There was beautiful weather all day. And like I said, there was a slight breeze that would just keep you cooled off. I'd say it was probably in the 70s, blue skies, and with probably like a 15, 20 mile an hour wind. It was just perfect. Just a great way to start the week. Then came Tuesday. It was officially my birthday. And for my birthday, I wanted to visit the Roman built city of Bath. It's also the home, of course, for Tears for Fears, if you didn't know that. We paid for the open air bus tours, where we had kind of an automated pre-recorded bits about the city as the bus would pass through the areas. You had a little cheap, little earbuds that they would give you with the price of the tour. You plug them into your seat, and that's where you would hear, just like having a tour guide right there talking to you. It was a little pricey. I think it was £25 each, but it had 2 different tours included. There was a tour where you can actually experience the inner city. And let me tell you, these bus drivers are talented people. I don't know how they got this big tour bus through these tight areas of this town, but they also had another tour that was included where you can actually ride on the outside of the city and look down on the city, and it would tell you all the different things outside the city limits. It's really nice too. The second thing we did that day, we visited the Bath Abbey. Man, talk about a beautiful church, cathedral, whatever you may call it. We also paid for the guided tour of the clock tower of the Abbey. All these proceeds went to help preserve this Abbey, so it felt like money was well spent there. But I'll tell you what, it was a very tight space. But once you got to the top of the clock tower that overlooked the entire city, it was worth this tight little spiral staircase of 193 steps to get there. We were also shown the bell room where celebrities would be invited to ring the bells on special occasions. This included sitting behind the clock face and over the right above the bell area where the bells hang. And they had lots of interesting stories about how these bells fell through one time, almost killed somebody. There's lots of history here, and the tours pointed out many interesting facts about the bells and the church itself. The city of Bath is loaded with shops and eateries, so don't miss out on this special city. A very good way to celebrate your birthday. On Wednesday, we took a steam train through many towns of the Cotswolds. There was no air conditioning, and it was a little toasty, if I'm being honest. But I'm from Florida, so I'm kind of used to this. It wasn't too bad. The train itself is really a living museum, as the trains were fully restored. We took the steam train one way and a historic diesel train back to where we started. Think of it as like a single track. You go up through many cities and then back to where you started or where you entered or hopped on the train. Once the train got to a little town called Broadway, we decided to hop out and explore the city. Lots of small shops, and there was a store there called Man Cave. I even got a souvenir teacup from a store literally made for us men gamers. This store had all kinds of historic pieces, knockoff, what do they call it? Reproductions, but combined with little knickknacks it was just perfect for my shelf unit. If you ever watch me stream, I have like a shelf unit behind me that has all kinds of little knickknacks on it. So if you look very carefully, you'll see that little coffee tin, that little tin coffee mug that I got there, but it's perfect for our cave dwellers out there. This area we adventured was considered the Cotswolds, which is an area over 100 miles across. Lots of farmland and small town centers. It's kind of a taste of a more chill area of the Midlands. Thursday was our final day in the UK, and our friend Heyoka we met up with again, who had lured me here with 2 tickets to see one of my favorite bands, Elbow. Billy Martin, a beautiful folk singer, opened the show and had a very entertaining band called The Choral. That was the setup band before Elbow came out for the main concert. Before we went to the concert, though, we visited the National Arboretum, where the concert was actually being held later that night. Lots of varying enormous trees were everywhere. I mean, trees I've never seen before. We walked a sky bridge where you can actually, it was the way it was made, it was aligned to look out over the treetops. It's like an elevated walkway. It's very, very nice. We hiked up some other areas of the Arboretum as well. On our way out, we can actually hear Elbow doing sound checks, and I was getting really excited for the night to come. At 13 pounds each to adventure into the Arboretum, all the proceeds, of course, go back to keep up the forest and the parks. Later that day, we met up with Heyoka again at a nearby pub and had an early dinner. We had some great conversation about his career and daily life in England. Lots of eye-opening stuff. We then went to the concert, which was outstanding. I don't usually sing or dance at concerts, but I could not help myself. It was such a fantastic venue outside among the trees, looking into the night sky. We didn't get home until 1 a.m. and had to immediately pack for the early morning ahead, going back to Heathrow Airport to return. We got to return the rental car, get checked in for the long trek back home. I was not excited about that part. I did not want to leave. I was really enjoying my visit there. It will forever be burned into my brain as one of my favorite vacations in a long time. All right. So you endured my day-to-day activities. So I want to give you some interesting advice and some facts that I came upon when I was in the UK. My wife is amazing at getting the most value out of a vacation package, and money-wise, the entire trip, when all was said and done, and I'm talking about adjusted for US dollars, everything, meals, fuel, everything, $5,000 for 2 people, 2 adults. My wife handled the airfare, the rental car, and the hotel, and I covered all of the incidentals like food, fuel, tickets to the venues, miscellaneous gifts and treats, everything external to the vacation package, which my wife likes to use Orbitz. No, they're not a sponsor or anything. I just want to let you know that's who she used to put together the trip. And I think she did it about 6 weeks prior to us leaving. I've taken lots of vacations in my life, and $5,000 US was a pretty good deal going anywhere outside the United States. If you have the opportunity to visit the UK, I highly recommend it. We, of course, had a little ace up our sleeve with my friend and community member, Heyoka. He gave me his direct cell number so I could easily ask him any questions we had about where we're headed. He also provided us with great local info and best places to check out in the area. It's really good to have a UK friend to help you out when you're in a country you know nothing about. Some important differences need to be spelled out if you decide to take the leap. First, driving in the UK is very stressful, but by the end of the week, I had acclimated at least a little bit better, especially understanding the rules and etiquette for driving in the UK. Whatever you do, do not speed. On the motorways, on the small side streets, cameras are always gauging your speed over certain distances and areas. So if the sign says 60 miles an hour, as you will see, everyone drives 60 miles an hour. It's refreshing, how polite the other drivers are on the road. I'm from Florida, and it can get downright chaotic traveling over any areas of the Sunshine State. If you have faith in your driving skills and you don't get easily intimidated, driving can actually be a fun adventure. My wife and I compared our daily driving trips to and from our activities similar to Mario Kart or Grand Theft Auto, as you will never know what you'll encounter on the roadways, such as just two horses just casually going down the road right in the middle of the highway, or a fast pedaling older lady right in the lane next to you. Whatever you decide, I highly recommend watching YouTube videos on roundabouts, traffic signs, and driver etiquette. Something I probably regret. But I watched it as soon as I got there. I started watching videos right away. We Americans are kind of used to everything being so big and roomy and extra large. This is not the case in the UK. Everything is close quarters, whether it's driving on a two-way road that only seems to accommodate one car, to walking downstairs in a cafe to use the toilets. That's what they call bathrooms. When sitting at a cafe, it's not uncommon to be sitting like right next to someone else, even though they're on a different table. Personal space is a little less in the UK, but once you get used to it, it's actually very charming and very unique to your experience. We lucked out on our trip and never got a drop of rain. I was joking to our UK community members that I brought over the heat and the sun from Florida. Rain is expected, and there can also be some very overcast days and wet roads. So that adds up to even more, quote, fun to the driving adventure. As far as eating out, tipping is not a custom in the United Kingdom. There's usually a flat 10% added fee to your bill. I can't remember if it's called a standard or convenience fee or something like that. So don't feel as though you need to add any more to your bill. Also, the dollar is weaker than the pound. And instead of trying to figure out how many US dollars it'll take to pay for something, just use a card. The calculations will be automatically done for you instantly. It's a good time to use those cashback cards. Am I right? As an example of how much things cost in the UK, as of the week we went, a typical dinner out for two is about £50, which equals about $75 US. Fuel costs in the United States dollars for a small hatchback was about $75 per fill up. And we filled this little car 2.5 times, 2 full fills. And then of course we topped it off before returning it to the rental car place, because you know what they charge to fill that sucker up if you don't come in there with a full tank. Then keep in mind too that this little Mercedes was a hybrid. It ran on electric and on gas. So yeah, it's expensive to drive in the UK. To make everything super simple, just use a card. Everything is tap and pay in the UK. I mean, everything. Cash is just, you don't see many people pulling out cash to pay for anything there. And the tap and pay features is just about everywhere you go. The people of the UK are a very reserved and a very polite society. Learning your P's and Q's is something the British people learn as kids and is very important to the culture. This includes letting another driver in front of you at an intersection. See how to use roundabouts from my previous statement. Another thing is I found kind of weird is once I spoke publicly to my wife at our table, others kind of realize that you're an American. They tend to study you, but they're very coy about it. They don't ever have any eye contact. Nips was right. Eye contact is avoided in most cases. People want to act as though they're minding their business, but hey man, we're all human and curiosity overtakes all. I felt as though it was my duty to kind of represent America in a good light. So please and thank you were used at the end of nearly every sentence spoken in public. As my second time in the UK, I learned so much more as an older traveler. Finally, if you don't hear anything else I say about my trip, never, I mean never cut in front of someone in a line. The Brits take their lines, which they call queues, very seriously. I actually cut off a large truck on the motorway in my travels, not on purpose. He was very irate with me, more than aggressive drivers we're used to in America. So I hope you have the opportunity to visit the UK, and hopefully what I shared today, may help you understand this country a little bit better. To be able to jump into another country and experience the culture and the way of life is priceless. And for one, it gave me much more perspective in how our two countries are alike and different.
Howdy folks, this is MC Squared and you're listening to Guardian Downcast.
This Week in Destiny for June 19th, 2025. This Week in Destiny, we're getting ready for our next developer stream. These things take time, so we're also telling you all about one of the biggest systemic changes we're introducing with the Edge of Fate. It's a topic that you may not have heard about yet, so get ready for it. And for the rest of our weekly topics, of course. The only two topics I'm going to cover in this TWAB, because the others are repetitive, things they've talked about in the past, but these are the two important things I want to mention. Introducing additive melee damage and the exotic armor tuning preview. Tune into our next developer stream. Join us on Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That's tomorrow if you're listening to this on Monday, as we give an all-in-depth look at the Edge of Fate. We'll have the dev team on the floor ready to share many details about Armor 3.0 and the new ability stat system to show you some more new weapons and more. Everyone watching our developer stream on Bungie Twitch channel for at least 15 minutes and with their Bungie ID linked will earn the Astromancy emblem as a Twitch drop. I'm looking at this emblem. It is really nice. Got a kind of a patina look to it. I like that. Melee damage is changing in the Edge of Fate. Hello there. This is the Destiny 2 Sandbox team ready to talk about one of the most significant systemic overhauls coming with the Edge of Fate. Additive melee damage stacking. The short version is almost all sources of increased melee damage are buffed. All sources of increased melee damage stack at full efficiency in PvE, and we're using additive damage increase calculation for melee damage. How melee damage worked in the past. Currently in Destiny 2, most sources of increased damage in Destiny 2 are multiplicative. Two hypothetical 50% damage increases, a 1.5x increase to damage, are multiplied together for a total of 125% or 2.25x damage increase. This approach to damage increases has some problems. For one, the more the damaging increasing effects applied at the time, the more powerful they all become, which means that the best builds and the strategies can start to revolve around simply having as many buffs as possible. This is a pattern we saw in Destiny 2 prior to the mutually exclusive empowering damage buff system for weapons. Additionally, balancing the game becomes more and more difficult the more sources of increased damage we add. We do not want to have to choose between bosses being one-shot by players who are stacking as many buffs as possible or bosses feeling like bullet sponges to players who are not. So how damage melee will work now? When the Edge of Fate is released on July 15th, melee damage increases in Destiny 2 will be additive. That means two hypothetical 50% damage increases will be added together for a total of 100% damage increase. Now, this does result in lower damage ceiling for melee abilities, and it's unlikely that most bosses will ever be one-shot with melee abilities going forwards. But because we do not need to worry about someone stacking these melee buffs and trivializing most content in the game, we can do two very cool things. First, we are buffing almost all effects that increase melee damage. Some of them double the damage they do now. In PvE, melee damage increasing effects always stack at full value if applicable. Our goal with these changes is to make it as much easier to create a personalized build that works the way you want. Many potential combinations of melee abilities and build crafting atoms are now much stronger than they were. We are very excited to see what melee builds y'all cook up in the Edge of Fate with these new changes. So here's the systemic changes. In this new system, every effect that increases melee damage has been converted to use additive damage stacking. Every item that has been changed as a part of this has been listed below, with a single exception. The new melee stat introduced with Armor 3.0 increases the damage of melee abilities when going over 100 points, up to an extra 30% at a 200 stat. The damage bonus provided by this stat is considered to be an increase to the base damage of a player's melee attacks and abilities and is multiplicative with other damage increases. In short, if you're putting together a melee build, you'll want to get your melee stat up as high as possible. Additionally, melee damage no longer scales scorch and ignition damage generated by melee attacks. The logic behind this change is similar to the logic underlying the jolt damage scaling changes we made a while back. We think it's healthier for elemental verbs to have a consistent effect regardless of the source that's applied to them. We have opted for a more targeted change here, and Incinerator Snap and Consecration Slam remain powerful options both as centerpiece abilities in melee-focused builds and as potent damage-focused tools in other builds. Oh boy. JD Kent's not going to be happy. About glaives. As part of our melee overhaul, we are revisiting the role of glaives in the sandbox. We would like glaives to find a more permanent home in melee-focused builds, where they provide a defensive tool to help you close in on your targets, and a faster and more potent unpowered melee ability than Gardens would have otherwise. That's right. Glaive melee is considered an unpowered melee ability in the Edge of Fate. Anything that increases the strength of unpowered melee abilities will now increase the strength of glaive melee, including the melee stat. This does come at a cost. While glaives have a much clearer role and have a higher damage ceiling, we needed to reduce their base melee damage in PvE to bring it more in line with unpowered melee attack. But even after these changes, glaive melee has a much bigger damage per second output than unpowered melee attacks do. In short, if your build relies on unpowered melee damage, glaives will be the best way to increase your unpowered melee DPS even further. So, first, glaive melee is now considered to be a type of unpowered melee ability. They now receive melee damage increases at full effect in all cases where an unpowered melee ability would, including the damage increases from Syntheseps, Knockout, Offensive Bulwark, Combination Blow, Spark of Feedback, Wormgod Caress, Banner of War, and Stylish Executioner. Next, glaive melee now triggers all effects that are triggered by any melee ability. They will no longer benefit from some weapon damage bonuses such as Radiant, and it's no longer weapon damage. Effects that modify the behavior of basic melee attacks such as the Titan Aspect Knockout that changes basic melee attacks from kinetic to arc will not affect the behavior of glaive melee. And last, glaive melee damage in PvE has been adjusted to compensate for their increased access to melee damage increasing effects. Glaive melee damage against minors and majors has been reduced by 40%. Glaive melee damage against champions and mini-bosses have been reduced by 28.5%. And glaive melee damage against bosses and vehicles has been reduced by 50%. Below, check out a list of melee changes we have made to abilities, exotic armor pieces, and weapon perks so that they can shine in the new system. Be mindful that this does not cover all the sandbox tuning plans we have for Edge of Fate, just the melee-focused ones. We are covering exotic armor changes in a section below, and we'll show everything about weapons and abilities in a future TWAB. Okay, so I like this. I really do, because that makes glaive an integral part of your build instead of just another weapon. I like this. Not bad. All right, let's get into it. Ability changes for melees. All classes in Prismatic, Facet of Courage, PvE melee damage bonus increases from 10% to 50%. An Arc, Spark of Feedback, PvE melee damage bonus increase from 75 to 100%, now works with glaive melee at full effect. PvE melee damage bonuses no longer decrease when used with Synthoceps, Liar's Handshake, Knockout, Wormgod Caress, 1-2 Punch, or Winter's Guile. For the Titan, Roaring Flames, maximum PvE damage bonus increase from 73 to 200%. As a note, Roaring Flames increases solar ability damage, and glaive melee is always kinetic. We have opted to follow the rules as written for this one for now, so Roaring Flames does not scale glaive melee damage. Melee damage bonuses no longer decrease when used with Peregrine Greaves, Wormcog Caress, 1-2 Punch, or Synthoceps. Knockout. A PvE uncharged melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 160%. PvE charged melee damage bonus increased from 50% to 160%. Increased melee damage now works with glaive melee at full effect. Offensive bulwark. PvE melee damage and bonus increases from 100 to 160%. Increased melee damage now works with glaive melee at full effect. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Synthoceps. And finally, Banner of War. Melee damage bonus for user and allies increases from 40 to 100%. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Wormgod Caress, Synthoceps, and glaive melee. The damage bonus provided to Blade Fury's melee attacks is unchanged. Alright, let's look to the Hunter now. Stylus Executioner. PvE melee damage bonus increases from 200 to 300%. Now works with glaive melee at full effect. Now works with every melee ability if the ability makes contact while you are leaving invisibility. In other words, a projectile melee abilities like the Threaded Spike will benefit from the damage increase if you use it at point blank. Combination Blow. Maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 309% to 400%. Increased melee damage now works with glaive melee at full effect. Now works with the Tempest Strike and PvE at full effect. This line incorrectly mentioned Ascension. Now works with grapple melee and PvE at full effect. Bungie? Where's the Warlock changes? I'm looking here. I don't see any changes to Warlock. What's going on here? Okay, nothing for Warlocks. Thank you, Bungie. Alright, next, exotic armor changes for the Hunter. Athrus's Embrace. PvE weighted throwing knife damage bonus increased from 200 to 300%. Liar's Handshake and Spirit of the Liar. PvE basic melee and arc melee damage increased from 200% to 400%. Ophidio Spath. Maximum PvE throwing knife damage and bonus increased from 100 to 200%. Triton Vice. PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 200%. Alright, for the Titan. Heart of Inmost Light. I love this armor piece. Maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 20% to 50%. Now increases the damage of unpowered glaive melee abilities. Peregrine Greaves. Shoulder charge ability impact damage bonus against non-champion, non-tormentor, and non-mini-boss targets increased from 363% to 400%. Synthoceps and Spirit of the Synthoceps, that's from the class item, the exotic class item. Melee damage bonus is unchanged, 165%. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Combination Blow, Stylish Executioner, and glaive melee. Damage bonus is still decreased against players when used with Lightning Surge. Wishful Ignorance. Maximum PvE Frenzied Blade melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 200%. Maximum PvE Flechette Storm melee damage and bonus increased from 50 to 200%. Wormgod Caress. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus increased from 275% to 400%. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Roaring Flames or glaive melee. Warlocks. Alright, finally. Winter's Guile. Maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 275% to 400%. I'm looking through the pages here. I don't see anything else for Warlocks. Am I getting punked? What is going on here? What is going on with Warlocks, Bungie? I don't understand. All right. Weapon changes. Weapon perk specifically. Close to melee. PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 30 to 60%. 1-2 punch. PvE damage bonus increased from 100 to 150%. Now works with all melee abilities. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Liar's Handshake, and increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. Okay. Exotic weapons. Bastion. Saint's Fist PvE melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 300%. Now works with all melee abilities. Increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. Okay. Monte Carlo. Catalyst melee attack no longer deals reduced melee damage to bosses, mini-bosses, and champions. Holy crap. That is going to be fun to use. Monte Carlo might be the gun to use coming up if you have a melee build. I know Elmer Fudd Games is just giddy laughing right now about his damn Monte Carlo. Winter Bite now receives melee damage bonuses from a variety of sources. Reduced enhanced melee damage with ammo to plus 20% versus bosses, down from plus 50%. Okay. All right. Now let's look at the exotic armor tuning preview, and there is a bunch of it. We mentioned a bunch of exotic armor pieces in the previous section, so it felt natural to go over the other exotics that are changing with the Edge of Fate. Many buffs and reworks here and there, and just a few minor nerfs to keep things balanced and interesting. All right, we'll start with the Hunter. The Dragon's Shadow, and it has long felt weird how similar the Dragon's Shadow and Speedloader slacks are in their effects, with both centered on dodging to get their stats. To alleviate some of the weirdness, the Dragon Shadow has gained many of these stats and has had its perk updated to fit better with the new suite of player stats. So the Dragon Shadow now passively increases weapon stability and ready speed. Dodging reloads your equipped weapon. No longer reloads holstered weapons. Activating your dodge ability grants the following effects for a short time. Increased stability and handling, increased move speed, increased sprint, slide, and ADS strafe speeds, increased class stat. Okay, speaking of which, Speedloader slacks for the Hunter. With these bonuses given away, we took a more PvE-oriented approach to Speedloader slacks, allowing hunters to be able to provide a benefit akin to Lunafaction boots to their allies to be able to carry around during higher end content. So Speedloader slacks adjusted the tight fit perk. Dodging reloads all weapons and grants increased handling and reload speed for you and nearby allies. While this buff is active, additional dodges increase the strength of the buff and refreshes the timer. Well, that's going to be interesting when doing DPS. Dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. Okay. Good old Mask of Bacchus. Mask of Bacchus has always been an evocative and visually fun exotic, but largely is used as a PvP tool. Boy, do I know it. We've made some changes to let you play into the Fallen Captain fantasy even more so in PvE, while also pairing well with the new stats. It's also now usable on Arc subclasses and supers. So, Mask of Bacchus. Effects are now active when either an Arc or Stasis super is equipped. That is pretty big, actually. Reworked Light Shift, which means no longer provides a non-stacking surge damage bonus. Now grants plus 10% damage for eligible weapons. In other words, Stasis weapons, Arc weapons, and Lord of Wolves per stack. Stacks up to 3 times while active. Weapon final blows grant class ability energy. Okay. Kepri's Sting. Man, I haven't heard much about this exotic in a while. Kepri's Sting has been a fairly niche PvP exotic for some time, so we wanted to rework it to something a bit more broadly useful and with more build crafting hooks. So, Kepri's Sting. Removed automatic smoke bomb activation when using a melee attack. Removed true sight when dealing damage with smoke bomb. But they added killing weakened targets creates a burst of weakening smoke and returns smoke bomb energy. Ooh. That may be a problem in PvP. Is this a PvP? That's for PvE. It doesn't say whether it's PvE only. Okay. Oathkeepers. Boy, I used to love these gauntlets. Oathkeepers have not been quite worth the time investment to overdraw for the damage bonus. So we've tuned that a bit for some better ease of use and higher potential payout of damage. Oathkeepers. Increased maximum damage bonus from 150 to 200%. Now provides more of the total damage bonus earlier in the overdraw. Okay. Blight Ranger. We're still on Hunter. Blight Ranger has had a rough time. With previous balance changes failing to hit the mark, despite that, we believe that it's the most recent rework established a playstyle that fits the fantasy of the exotic. However, its cancellation effect still didn't feel worth the investment, especially due to a challenging bug and how its damage is scaled. So we've given it a bit of extra juice, actually a lot of extra juice. So for the Blight Ranger, fix an issue where cancellation damage was not consistently scaling based on voltaic mirror progress. Adjusted voltaic mirror meter behavior now requires 25% less reflections to reach maximum, fills more evenly, blocked melee attacks now count as a reflection. Oof, that may be huge if you get good using this. Maximum cancellation damage increased by 50%. This is in addition to the fix above. Minimum cancellation damage increased by 150%. Now applies blind before dealing damage. Updated visuals, audio, and timing of the blinding shockwave to better reflect its impact. I may be pulling these out. That's a lot of buffs on one exotic piece. Hunters, you're looking good. Hunters are looking good. Anyway. All right, let's go to the Titans. Crest of Alpha Lupi. Over the past year, we've seen a lot of love when it comes to the new addition of things like support frame autos. With the Edge of Fate, we took a look at some of the other clearly support-oriented exotics that aren't as popular to give them a leg up to a modern sandbox standards. Starting with Crest of Alpha Lupi, we wanted to keep it subclass agnostic while letting it feel like the one-stop shop for the support Titan fantasy. So, they've added additional effects. Sustained damage while behind a barricade triggers another, smaller healing pulse. Okay. Healing your allies grants barricade energy. Oh, that's some great synergy there. Okay. All right, Phoenix Cradle. The next clear option was Phoenix Cradle. There's a lot of ways to generate sunspots, but it always felt like you couldn't create them where you wanted to maximize the effects of Phoenix Cradle. So, we tackled that with also hitting it on a very common piece of feedback when it comes to your Cradle-enabled sunspots visuals. So they're updating the visual effects on sunspots while the user has Phoenix Cradles to look more clearly supportive to allies, and they added additional effects. Dealing sustained solar weapon damage in a sunspot extends its duration, and providing solar buffs to allies has the chance to create a sunspot at your feet. Okay. I'm not crazy about sunspots. Of course, I'm not a Titan, but anyway. The MK44 Standasides. Standasides, ironically left in the dust. This exotic lost its role with the introduction of the Juggernaut and other changes that made the melee refund less valuable. We removed the melee energy refund on shoulder charge hit and the overshield while sprinting. These were replaced by more arc-centric perks that turn you and your allies into an unstoppable force. So, what did they do? Sprinting with Juggernaut active periodically grants you a stack of static charge. Sprinting while amplified creates an area behind you that grants allies speed booster. That is interesting. On in-game content, like getting to a certain spot, that might be really nice. But is it worth it as far as major DPS? We'll have to see, I guess. All right, Path of Burning Steps. We liked how Path of Burning Steps played in the Season of the Wish before the previous changes to this exotic to return to its glory days, gleefully frolicking with Polaris Lance. We added back some of its bonus damage by tying it to Roaring Flames. So, Path of Burning Steps. Increased solar weapon damage and solar ignition damage based on the number of stacks of Roaring Flames you have. Roaring Flame times 1, 2, or 3 grants plus 10, 15, and 20% bonus solar weapon damage and plus 5, 10, and 15% bonus to ignition damage. Stacks with surge mods. Reduces the duration of suspend, slow, and freeze effects applied to you. Okay, that seems pretty potent to me. Abeyant Leap. Abeyant Leap remains a potent choice, but we wanted to add one small nudge in efficacy that won't overtune the whole suspend kit. They've now increased the duration of suspend applied by enhanced Drenger's Lashes. Okay. Acting War Rig. This looked interesting. These changes to Acting War Rig go well beyond with the new weapon stat, giving you the option of building your loadout around the exotic to keep its new kill streak bonus rolling. Think Worm God Caress. I can't talk. Think Worm God Caress for auto rifles and machine guns. Worm Gun Caress. So what they're doing, auto rifle and machine gun final blows increase their stability, ammo generation, and damage. Stacks up to 10 times. Higher stack counts expire more quickly. That is going to be fun. I like Acting War Rig, but we don't have to use that railgun anymore. I like it. Spirit of Alpha Lupi. This is the exotic form of it. The Spirit of Apalupi is going to be inheriting one of the above changes to Crest of Apalupi. The added healing your allies grants class ability energy. Okay. All right. Finally, Warlock. Starfire Protocol. Empowering damage, as it has been written on Starfire Protocol, has always felt pretty confusing. With the new world of stats, we figured it was high time to clear up this confusion and give this exotic a well-deserved boost. So, now also activates on radiant damage, increase the fusion grenade energy gain from dealing damage from 2.5% to 5%, reduce fusion grenade energy gain from final blows from 20 to 15%. Alright, it's not sexy, but okay. Wings of Sacred Dawn. Boy, what a wasted exotic. With the release of other items in the game, such as the Manticore SMG, we've seen some gripes when it comes to exotics that ask the player to survive while airborne. So to give some help to Wings of Sacred Dawn, we've taken a look at just that. Combatants are less accurate towards you while Tome of Dawn is active, similar to Manticore's effect. While a Solar Super is equipped, Solar Weapon Final Blows now grant restoration and reload your sewed weapons. Okay, that could be helpful, but I still don't think that's going to be used, but we'll see. Fellwinter's Helm. For many exotics, it's been hard to keep up with the difficulty progression of activities, oftentimes leading them to be great on power or lower content, but extremely feast or famine and high difficulty activities. For weapons, we can usually help remedy this with on sustained damage effects. And the case of armor like Fellwinter's Helm, an equivalent on hit. So, they've added powered melee damage weakens targets, applies a 15% weaken. Weaken effects applied to the burst via melee or finisher final blows are unchanged. Okay. Prometheum Spurs. I mean, these are just like all the exotics that none of us warlocks use anymore. In a world with so many rift exotics, it's always been hard to make a combo rift feel truly good for how many hoops it's asked you to jump through. Isn't that the truth? So with this pass, we've looked at an alternative approach to the combo rift that will also let players look into other atoms on the solar subclass to allow more versatile benefits. So they've reworked the perk of Embers of Light. While a solar super is equipped, weapon defeats grant class ability energy, and weapon defeats in a rift grant a different solar verb and depending on the rift. While in a healing rift, weapon defeats create a pulse that creates radiant to you and nearby allies. While in an empowering rift, weapon defeats instead grant cure to you and nearby allies. Okay. I still am not going to use that one. Probably not. Boots of the Assembler. Currently, Speaker Sight largely outclasses Boots of the Assembler. Speaker Sight is similarly potent at healing allies, producing orbs to power your build, and doesn't require you to stand in a rift to get benefits. Plus, Boots of the Assembler's Noble Seekers are just not very smart. So we sent them to college. Now they target allies more reliably, spread their healing out much more efficiently, and give a more flexible benefit when they are applied to an ally. So, Noble Seekers no longer spawn in waves and instead spawn at a constant rate based on the fire team size. Average number of Noble Seekers produced per 8 seconds is unchanged. It will produce 1 per ally in that time period. Noble Seekers tracking range changed to 40 meters always, from 20 to 40 meters based on the time alive. That's pretty good. Noble Seekers will prioritize allies who have not been healed in the last 8 seconds. That's good too. Noble Seekers can now target allies standing in the rift, producing them. Noble Seekers will not target an ally more than once per 4 seconds. Noble Seekers will not detonate when passing near an ally they are not targeting. They will still detonate if you make direct impact with an ally they are not targeting. No longer grants extended rift duration on Noble Seeker impact with allies. Instead, grants class ability energy on Noble Seeker impact with allies. Scales based on fire team size. Okay. This I might look into. Because if I'm a support warlock and I'm trying to keep my fire team healed, especially during a DPS mode, that might be worth trying. All right, Geomag stabilizers. They saved the best for last here. We enjoyed watching players shoot out beams of concentrated arc energy just as much as you all did generating them. But with the launch of the Edge of Fate, we are limiting some of the unlimited power. To compensate, we took a pass at retuning the spirit sprinting for bolt charge. So for Geomag stabilizers, they reduce super energy granted by ionic traces to 4%, down from 7%. Retuned sprinting to top off bolt charge. So how they did that is they decreased bolt charge stacks required before sprinting will grant additional stacks from 6 to 5. Decrease the amount of time required for sprinting to start granting bolt charge from 2 seconds to 1. Increase the rate bolt charge is granted while this effect is active from 1 every 1.5 seconds to 1 every 0.33 seconds. Okay. That's just way too much math for me, and it's way too damn late to figure that out. So that's too bad. I like Geomags. I mean, if you have a really good art class and you like the Kamehameha Super, those were really the must-haves, but we'll see. Player support report. Shit is broken. And finally, and with that, this twit is over. Hope you found all those changes coming to your melee builds and exotic armor pieces interesting. We are pretty sure some of you have already started theorizing about new builds and combos that will be most fun to play with when the Edge of Fate launches. Let us know what you think and what you think will get you most excited. The Destiny 2 community team. Thank you, Destiny 2 community team, as always, for communicating with us. My thoughts on this. Well, if you've played Balatro, and I've played a lot of Balatro. I played some on the plane, in fact, when I was in the UK. A multiplicative damage increase with melees, or anything for that matter, is always higher than additive. So I know those numbers sound really impressive, but I'm really curious what it actually means DPS numbers wise. You know, the one thing that Bungie did do, because the multiplicative buffs were so powerful that they would limit it to the most dominant one. Remember, if you had multiple buffs going on, that they would only use one of those buffs with your fire team or whatever you're using, whatever your abilities are. Now with this additive, I could see it has good potential, but I'm curious how many times you have to add stuff to get the same effect as one multiplicative melee enhancement. I don't know. Time will tell on this, but I mean, it looks fancy. It looks exciting. I like what they've done with some of the exotic changes, especially for Hunter. Hunter's got some really exciting changes. Of course, for Titans, I gotta say the Acting War Rig looks very exciting to use there because you can use it for more weapons. I mean, machine gun. I use a ton of machine guns. Warlock, I can't get excited about any of these. I can't. I don't know. Maybe I'll be playing a Titan or a Hunter in Edge of Fate. Did I just say that? No, I didn't say that. Anyway, time will tell on that, but there you go. There's the flat out information. Thank you for not falling asleep while I did this, because it's a lot of math. But if you look at it overall, they're just changing the way you can add it up. But the fact that they're not limiting the buffs, like you have a fire team that's using all kinds of different buffs. I could see a lot of really good combinations here that you could use in a really well-trained fire team that has everything build crafted to work together as the team, the team overall. You could add a bunch of stuff here, and I don't know, who knows? Maybe it'll work out really well. But I'm going to be cautiously optimistic on this one. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Bungie has to say this Tuesday. I'll be there, of course, for the live stream, and I'll see what they're going to do with that. And I'm sure Kingsley and I will talk about this in next week's show. All right.
Hey Guardians, I'm currently freezing my butt off because Gatr has the thermostat too low, but you're listening to Guardians Downcast.
You're listening to what?
You heard me.
No, it's Guardian Downcast. Do I have to be jealous
I
again?
know.
I'm over this. Cut. Well, hopefully you got a chance to listen to some of my hand-picked outtakes on last week's show, which was part 1 of 2. Today, I present part 2 of some of my favorite clips that have been in past special Patreon episodes. And in this part, I am all over the place in topics of conversation. I really had a difficult time going over the hundreds of clips from past shows, but I only have so much time to put them into a segment like this. I hope you enjoy them. In this first clip, I had a conversation with my guest, Zombie Pops, on episode 260. And we found that we had so many things in common, and I'm not talking about our first names being Todd, but we both are in the same industry. And the more I talk with him, the more I saw in myself. Thanks for coming on tonight. I know it was short notice.
Yeah.
I had someone that had to schedule last minute, had to reschedule. And, dude, you were a champ. You know,
I tried. Like I said earlier, if you can help, do it. If not,
well,
then,
what people don't know is you're going to be on our next roundtable episode.
Oh, I know.
You brought a killer story to the roundtable for, I think it's in 2 weeks.
Is that why that question was in the speed run?
Yes.
Yeah.
No one will know. No one will know what that question is. Just between me and you. I put it in there just for that. Just for that reason.
I was just asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I'm like, huh?
Yep. So,
Okay.
yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be really good. And what's great about you coming on the show tonight is now you have your audio set up. Everything's all set up the way you want it.
Yeah.
One thing I might tell you to do if you don't want to be in a weird position with that mic, you can get either an arm that has it's like a rubber band thing that the mic sits in. It's like an anti-vibration thing. I don't know what they call that damn thing, but that way you don't have to worry about not touching it and stuff. But it's like a dampener. It won't pick up any of the vibrations from the device, whatever it's sitting on or whatever. You can do that, or you can also get, a tripod that extends up, and they're not that expensive, man. These are all China made stuff and on Amazon. But if you ever want to, improve it where you can adjust the mic to where you want to sit anywhere in the house, I might suggest getting that. And you can get the, dampener kit and a little pop filter over it for like $15-20. It's nothing.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
You want to look into that. If you ever need me links, I can send you links. I don't get anything for it, but I'll help you with, cause I've bought all this stuff before and it's held up good. It's held up really good. So just letting you know.
I wanted to tweak the setup a little bit.
I know we were kind of rubber banding it tonight, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
You're
this laptop's, I don't know what the problem with it is. So I'm going to work on it too.
If a laptop's over 5 years old, they usually, it's usually the audio and video card that's usually outdated or doesn't have you might need to update it or something that might help.
Probably.
Most people's laptops, they just kind of sit in the kitchen or sit somewhere and they just pop it open. And usually when you pop it open, it's like, you have 23 updates. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So but that was fun, man.
I had it. Yeah.
I mean, that was a hell of a lot of fun. And, dude, we could talk shop for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you got some stories and I got some stories, but, so you've been doing it 3 years?
Yeah.
Is that the apprenticeship, amount of time to get your license?
I already have my green card, the applicator's card.
Right. It's different in every
state. I don't
state.
really want to go for a license.
Okay. We call it a certified pest control operator here in Florida.
Yeah.
CPO.
Right now, I take care of all of the Indian buildings.
Oh, nice.
Native on the reservation
casinos and stuff?
in Cherokee.
Yeah.
No, not the casino.
But
the government.
Government buildings? Sweet.
Yeah. Yep. So I really don't need it.
Okay. You'll get your applicator card. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So.
Nice. Well, dude, I know you've been working your ass off like I have today. So, dude, I just thanks for coming on the show and appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to a couple of weeks from now. If you need help with any of that equipment, let me know, man. I can send you the links.
Okay.
It's dirt cheap, man, and it'll make your life a lot easier. I know you got this mic last minute. You didn't have time, and I wasn't going to overload you with all this info. But if you want to get a little bit better setup as far as putting the mic somewhere more comfortable, just hit me up or just DM me, and I'll send you some links.
Okay.
Help.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
What's your first name again?
Todd.
Are you shitting?
Surprisingly.
Are you shitting?
I'm dead serious.
You're Todd as well? Oh, the
Yes.
patrons are going to hear that. Sorry, man.
With 2 Ds.
Of course.
Because people who spell it with 1 D is, I don't know. I don't get it.
I have a guy at bowling. His name is Todd as well, but it's with 1 D. And when we're doing brackets or something, and they're like, "Oh, you're Todd? Which Todd?" I'm like, "The one with 2 Ds." Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that
gotcha.
One spelled correctly.
Yeah. What's 1 D? It's like you cut off half the word. It's nuts.
So have you ever got asked what's Todd short for?
No, I've never been asked that.
No? Okay. I got it all the time. People are like, well, it's like Ted short for Theodore. And
Yeah.
like, no, it's not short for anything.
It's Todd.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, exactly.
You got some smart parents, man. That's a hell of a name. There's not many Todds out there.
So my parents had a foster kid.
Uh-huh.
And his name was Todd.
Nice.
And yeah.
Wow.
That's who. Yeah.
You just don't hear a lot of people naming their kids Todd anymore.
Mm-mm. You don't.
It's all like my grandson, his name's Elliot. Cameron. I named my son Cameron because in the 90s, Cameron was like the hot name. My daughter's name is Lauren because Lauren is not a common name, but I always knew this one customer, her name was Lauren, and I was like, that is such a cool name, man. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, no.
Most of our kids are fairly normal names.
We
actually have 2 Charleses.
Okay. Very, very.
Because she had one and then I did.
Very established names.
Yeah.
So Charlie.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
When they're younger. Yeah.
Yeah. One goes by his middle name though. So.
Okay. We don't have to say that.
No, it's whatever.
Yeah. We actually, with my son, our firstborn, he's 20, he's 27 now, by the way. Just had his first kid. Yeah, no, man. Now I feel old. Jesus, man, I almost have a 30-year-old as a kid. What the hell is this? I mean, I got married young, so I had kids young. That's probably why. But we actually had 2 names left, and we were going to pick them out of a coffee cup. We had 2 names that we agreed on. It was Mitchell and Cameron, and we drew Mitchell. I like Mitchell because that's my favorite spinning gear is Mitchell. I mean, they make classic stuff. They make great fishing gear, and I've always loved that name, Mitchell.
I get you. Yep.
Call you Mitch. It's an older name. I know it's old fashioned, but it's a classic. It's a classic name. Hey, Mitch is here.
Yeah.
We drew Mitch, and my wife says no, it's gonna be Cameron. I'm like, okay. First rule of marriage: Mama's always right.
Yep.
So
exactly,
dude, that was awesome.
That's why
I can't believe your name is Todd as well.
Kids. Yep.
Holy shit, man. Holy shit, that's awesome. Oh man, we got so much alike. It's unbelievable. Wow.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, if you ever, I've been doing pest control for 30 years now. Actually 33 if you include my 3 years of apprenticeship. I've seen a lot. And your pests are probably a little different, but all the times I've visited North Carolina, I've kind of gotten used to what pests they're dealing with there.
Yeah.
And tree spiders and stuff are probably the biggest pain in the ass for you guys because spiders are hard to kill, man.
See, and I tell customers that I'm like, they keep out of the chemical. They don't clean themselves.
They don't clean their legs. They're not like roaches.
Yeah.
And everything works off a stomach poison barrier system, and spiders catch their food. They don't pick stuff off their feet. They use webs and stuff, Mm-hmm. So
they hardly ever use their feet.
So people always ask me, I got this big house spider hanging in a corner of my ceiling. What do? I said, do you have a 9-iron? What do you mean? Yeah, you have a 9-iron. Yeah, I got it right here. Yep. I said, flip it around. You hold the iron end of it and as slowly, because they can feel pressure, slowly, and then squash the damn thing and flush it down the toilet.
Yep.
Most people just tell me to come out anyway. So I'll charge them $50 to do the same thing.
Hey,
it's money.
Yep.
You'd be surprised how many people down here are so freaking scared of anything.
Oh, no, I understand.
You're in the wrong state, lady.
Yep. We get people in the middle of the woods. We saw a spider. You guys need to come back and spray.
I'm from Connecticut. We don't deal with bugs. I'm like, well, you're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
God, man, it's so funny sometimes. But well, hey, man, I won't keep you. I know you said you were tired, so hey, thanks again for coming on, and I'll give you a shout out at the end of the show. I'll work it in later in the show. So
okay,
got a little special thing I'm doing for the 5-year anniversary tonight. So
okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that was tonight until you said something about it.
Yeah, I just realized it myself about 2 hours before air. I'm like, I got to do something special. This is exactly 5 years. So yeah, I'm going to do a little something at the end of the show. You'll hear it. So
all right,
man.
Sounds good.
Later on.
Later.
Take care.
You too.
All right, man. In this second clip, I was talking to my longtime friend and guest, Fluffy Fingers MD, from episode 233, and I discussed some, common relationship woes, if you will.
A conversation to a group text. Nothing I can do nothing I can do about that.
I mean, I know you're into tech, but come on, you can't make things disappear.
Yeah, just like
I gotta tell you what happened right before I got on tonight too. My dog is getting old, and her stomach just can't handle stuff like it used to. She still eats like a pig. You know those dogs she's literally moving your hand before you can even pour it in the bowl. She just eats that fast. And she eats so fast sometimes that she'll just throw it right back up. I mean, and these are big dogs, man. I mean, we had to throw up like a size of a large softball and right on our area rug. And our area rugs are what you call peelable. They have like a Velcro backing. So when the dogs mess on them, you just peel the cloth off and just throw it in the washer. And then you just apply it right back. It's the greatest thing, man. Cause we were going through area rugs at $300 a pop. I mean, it was killing us. So,
dude, yeah.
So, I was walking to come record tonight, and I almost damn near stepped in it, but it's just big pile of just undigested dog food. And I said, "Hun, there's a problem." And she goes, "Use your words. What is it? What's up?" I said,
"Use your words.
You got to come see it. It's, I think Clem threw up." And she goes, "Well, first one who saw it has to pick it up." I'm like, okay, so according to that, so next time if I see it, I'll just say nothing like I didn't see it and just continue to go to my office. I was trying to be nice and say, "Listen, I got to record."
I mean, yeah.
But I said, "Well, how do you pick up that much crap? Where do you put it in a disposal? Where do you put it, in the garbage or a bag?" So she came and took care of it, and she was not pleased, which I don't blame her. I just didn't feel like picking it up, man. I'm about to sit down and touch a bunch of electronic equipment. I didn't want to anyway. So she went to bed mad, which is never a good thing. But I said, well, I'll make sure. Yeah, I know, Fluffy, but what I said, I tell you what, I'll make sure that it goes into the dryer tonight before I go to bed. She goes, "Oh, can you do that for me? Is that the least you can do for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take care of it, babe. No sweat." But,
oh man.
So I kind of get that stuff, but, while we're on the topic of relationships, over a year ago, I got the opportunity to interview my parents. And I shared that interview over several Patreon episodes. Now, please ignore the poor audio quality as they don't do tech, so I had to bring the mics to them. This was just one of many topics I discussed with them. My parents have been married for over 60 years now, and as you will see, I had the very best example to follow growing up as an adult. What are your thoughts on making relationships work?
Well, Tim and I have discussed it before, and I've mentioned it to other people, especially younger people, and they don't quite understand. But it's sort of like thinking of the other person first in a lot of situations. It's like in my case, I think about what Tim would like to do rather than what I would like to do. But it's not the kind of thing where he's taking advantage of me or anything. It's sort of like my happiness is making him happy and being concerned about him. And I think with him, it's the same way.
Oh boy. Well, I pretty much think of your mother first before we do anything, period. So other than things that are, little hobby things or something like that. But as far as relationship goes, I'd say that it's always an evaluation of what effect it's going to have on everyone around you. Not just necessarily your wife, but, your kids, other people and friends. So I'd say the key to happiness is definitely keeping the thoughts, your first thoughts of how it'll affect someone else or what effect it'll have, you know.
What was one of the most challenging times in your marriage?
The most challenging time for me was when I was home with 3 small children, and Tim worked a lot of hours, and we didn't have a lot of money, so whenever we thought about having babysitters, it was always the cost of the babysitters. So I had to give up a lot of things that I wanted to do because I was so held down. I didn't get time to do things I wanted to do. And I resented it in a lot of ways. And it went against my nervous system and everything else. So.
But for me, I would say that because I was out working, you know, to me, I was sacrificing for my family, you know, and my marriage. I didn't feel the loneliness or anything because I was always either with one of my guys or with the customer or something in the deal. But the most unhappy time for me was when I had to join the military.
The Air Force?
Yeah.
All right. What's some of the happiest times in your marriage?
No, I'd just say generally being able to come home and share your life with somebody, you know, regardless of what day of the week it was or what was weighing on your mind at the time or whatever. It was just having somebody that you could confide in and share experiences with primarily. No one ever said it was going to be easy. Living by yourself isn't easy. So imagine it's good to have somebody else that you can share the burdens of life with. But I'd say probably just being able to, and that goes back to my commitment thing again. I mean, there's relationships that are strictly for fun, and there's relationships for life. So,
last question: what keeps you awake at night?
Indigestion.
No, for me, my husband's been sick a little bit the last couple of years, and I think about what my life would be like if something happened to him, and I think about being more independent, and not wanting to be a burden upon my children, like my mother was to me as I get older. And if Tim wasn't around to fulfill a lot of my needs and a lot of my companionship, you know, what would I do without him?
Probably going back to what I said earlier about regrets. You know, we're around all different kinds of people. We brush up next to them at Home Depot and wherever. And then there's other people that you actually spend some serious time with. And I think probably that what's become, in my older age, what's become a more salient thought is that we don't take the time to express our true appreciation or feelings for people and what they've done for us, in other words. So I'd say having time to tell people how much you appreciate them or love them.
You know, hearing that relationship advice got me thinking of a past show with our guest, Hawkslayer. And this one is a deep cut from episode 166, where he tells us the story of how he met his wife. I'll never forget this interview with him. Again, please forgive the poor audio quality because it was quite a while ago. Dolphin Island, Alabama. That's where you met your wife.
Yes, it's right over there by Gulf Shores.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
I was on vacation with my family. Now, granted, at the time, we couldn't really start a relationship or start anything more than just passing acquaintances because I was 20 and she was 16 at the time, and I didn't know this at first.
Yeah, dangerous age. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find that out till well after I got her number, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll just wait.
I would have been arrested, too, when I met my wife.
Oh, here's the funny thing. February, I went down to Louisiana to my brother-in-law's wedding, and they started talking about how people met, and his brother and my brother-in-law was like, "Yeah, Walter's a freaking pedophile."
Yeah, that's what my wife says. She always rubs it wrong. I'm 5 years older than my wife, so yeah.
Yeah,
she reminds me of that.
Let's see, she's 22 and I'm 27.
Yeah, 4 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
20 and 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 21 and she was 16. Yeah. Yeah. She was a friend of my sister's. It's the only way I knew her. I was just hanging out with my sister one night. We went to the movies all together, and that's how I knew of her. Yeah. The rest is history. I know.
Well,
she had to lie to her parents to tell them how old I was.
Oh, there was no hiding it. I drove up in my dad's truck, and her mom asked me directly, like, my age and everything, and she was hovering all over us at the time.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. But here's the funny thing: we stopped talking for about like 3 years, and I saw her name come up on my Snapchat as suggested friends. Like, hey, this person's number in your phone, you should add them as a friend. And I saw her name, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember who she is exactly. I can't put a face to the name, but if I have her number in my phone, and it's been this long through like 3 phone changes, okay, I should at least like hit her up, see how it's going, and I'm really lonely at the bar, so I want to see if I can fish somebody to talk to.
Right. Wow.
And, well, I haven't even gotten to the kicker. After we started talking again, I found out something that actually brought me to tears. You see, whenever we met, there's this fishing tournament over there called the Fishing Rodeo.
Okay.
Just because it's a rodeo to get out there to your fishing spot.
Right. You better have a fast boat.
So whenever we first hung out, we went out there to the Fishing Rodeo tournament, and we looked at all the different catches, all the different fish that were caught, all the different styles, categories, different species. It was just so cool.
Right.
Come to find out, those 3 years that we didn't talk, she went back to that fishing rodeo every year, hoping that I'd show back up.
Oh my God.
Oh, damn.
But I never did.
Oh. That's how you initially met her? I mean, when you were with your family?
That's how I initially met her.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And after she told me that,
oh, that's love, man.
Dude.
That's pure. That's pure stuff.
And after we established the connection, like, she's gone through like several relationships before she got to me.
Yeah, I got that term.
And she actually asked me to make a promise. She was like, "Hey, this isn't a requirement, but would you be willing to make a promise never to leave? Like, even if we're just friends?" Like,
yeah.
It took me a second to think about it, just because at the time I was still young and dumb. But I was like, "Yeah."
Well,
and I've held up to that promise to this day.
I'll be celebrating 30 years next month. I'm November.
Yeah.
November, not quite. 33 years I've been together with my wife. That's hard to imagine.
That is so exciting. Like, actually, my grandparents just celebrated their 55th.
My parents, oh my God. See, I had a good example, because my parents have been married. Holy crap. My dad is 77. My mom is 75. They were married, high school sweethearts, and they were married right out of high school. My dad was going to college. His mother did not want him to meet. She said that, quote, my mom was too pretty for him, and that he should just his parents were so dead freaking stuck on him being a doctor. He went and got his chemical engineering degree, and he was going to be a doctor. And, he made a decision that, no, I don't want to be a doctor. And now he's a building contractor. He's a GC. Been doing that all his life. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, man. They're about to celebrate their anniversary here soon, too. I want to say I want to say 60 years? No, can't be that long. 58 years, maybe? 58 years. Maybe that was last year. So yeah, man, 55 years that's a feat. But I had, like I said, I had a great role model, so it helped.
Yeah, but both my grandparents and my parents were great role models. Like,
yeah.
And here's the funny part. My brother inherited my dad's looks.
Mm-hmm.
I inherited my dad's personality. So my dad and I, we're like two peas in a pod when it comes to personality, hobbies, and all that stuff.
Right.
He absolutely, he loves it, and he tried to get me into technology, which at the time I should have listened to him, but at the time I was kind of young, dumb, stupid, a little stoned here and there.
Mm-hmm. Well, been there. And hey, it's never too late. It's never too late to change up, man.
No. Well, right now I'm getting to the carpentry. I would love to go get some cybersecurity certifications, but I don't have time to go through the courses right now.
Dude, I'll tell you what, the trades, that's really where the riches are. I mean, spiritually, in life, and money-making wise. Because the trades, when everything goes to shit, you have your skills.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are invaluable. You'll always have them.
Well, the coolest thing about working in the carpentry union is I kind of learn a little bit of everything, but also carpentry is a dying art.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to do hard labor anymore.
Push buttons.
Yeah.
And I'm out here busting my tail every single day.
My son and my daughter. My daughter does social media for a ticketing company. My son does. He's a data analyst for a big real estate company. Yeah, he doesn't do any manual labor. In fact,
it's a different time though.
It is. I mean, fair enough.
Me, I have more of the mindset of like a baby boomer rather than a millennial.
Yeah. See, I'm a Gen X. I'm right in the middle. But I was always a hands-on kind of person, though. Always been that way. Always been physical. Yeah, I'm making videos, for hours in my office here, and I get happy legs. I have to get up and just go walk. I have to go outside and do something. I'll go insane if I sit at my desk too long. Anyway, that could be another conversation.
Yeah.
No, man. That was good. That was good. Do you mind if I use some of that? About your wife?
Absolutely.
How you met and stuff? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Feel free.
So I'm always recording. Hawkslayer just had his second child just recently, and he DMs me pictures all the time about how his family is growing. I'm so happy to have met him, and probably why I love podcasting and talking to members of our community. Whenever I'm talking to my guests, conversations can go anywhere before and after a show. In this clip, one of our mods, Nico, aka Jersey, and I talk Star Wars, and of course, totally geek out on it.
Time that I took off of, after I did the campaign, I binge watched Obi-Wan.
Nice.
That had a little emotions in there.
Is that the older series?
Yeah, that 6-portion series.
Yeah. Have you seen Acolyte yet?
Yes, I have.
Dude, don't say anything. I'm watching. In fact, as soon as we are done recording here, I'm going to watch the first episode.
Well, I'll be up, so if you want to message me,
I appreciate it.
I watched it.
I love Star Wars.
I know. I'm so hooked. I actually downloaded the Old Republic again after watching Acolyte.
What is your go-to Star Wars movie when you're bored that you just love watching again and again?
Oh, man. I honestly have to say it's Episode 3.
See, for me, it's a tie between two. I really like Solo. I know people, a lot of Destiny or Star Wars fans don't agree. I think Solo was a great departure from the normal Star Wars franchise movies. I really like Solo. I thought it was done well. And then the second one is probably my all-time favorite Star Wars movie to date, and that's Rogue One. I love
Rogue One. Rogue One is up there. Like that movie hit a lot of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the whole episode 3 of seeing the actual rise and fall of Anakin, it did it for me. And like that final scene of where you get Darth Vader actually breathing.
Yep.
Like I got chills when I saw that in theater.
That is good. That is good. I agree. That was a good one. Episode 3, you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. I don't know, man. I can watch them all the time.
Oh, same.
I just love getting sucked into that Star Wars universe. And that's the same draw that Destiny has on me.
I was going to say, it's the same thing. World of Warcraft, Star Wars, Destiny, like they all have that universe. It's not just a few characters. It's a universe.
Exactly.
And here's my issue is we've got these episodes coming up.
Right.
We have the Pale Heart.
Yep.
And Friday morning, before I came home and finished the campaign, I got an email. I was invited to the World of Warcraft new expansion beta.
No shit, dude. Do it.
So it's like, how do I manage all of this stuff?
When's the beta?
It's already out.
Oh, you got a beta code?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
So it's like, oh man, yeah. I'm going to do some of the Pale Heart before I even think about jumping into that because I don't want to just get absorbed and forget about Destiny.
How long is the beta open?
I don't know.
A couple weeks, maybe?
Well, they usually leave their betas out for a while.
Okay, good.
So,
nice. Well, dude, that's nice. It's too late for me on World of Warcraft. That was a game my son really got into when I tried to jump into it with him. It didn't hook me. And I don't know what it is, man. I loved medieval knights and stuff. I was obsessed with, King Arthur's tales and stuff when I was younger, and I think if I applied myself and there wasn't so much pulling at me in the other area, I would probably play World of Warcraft more. But there's so much competition for my time, including my personal life and stuff. So you just have to decide, what are you going to balance it?
Family, gaming, I mean, that alone is struggling, not even counting how many different games there are.
Yeah, definitely. This next clip is from episode 238, where I talked with TL Tim, a prior Patreon community member. Him and I gelled so quickly, and I thought this would be a good clip to share, especially that I'm now sitting in the UK on vacation. Enjoy. I remember like a total stupid American when I went to England, I got a full station wagon Volvo, and I realized that was the biggest car on the road. Everybody in England has these little I call them hot hatches, like little tiny hatchback cars. They'll pile a family of 8 into this little car and then put the luggage in the hatchback in the back. And I understand why now, because try parking that big ass thing in these parking spots. Right. It's just crazy.
Or just driving them on the roads. I watch a lot of Top Gear and just seeing some of the roads they're driving on. It's like, how do 2 cars pass each other on that stuff?
It's a lot of faith and luck because we stayed south of London in a little country town called Hever. And, there'd be bridges where you'd come to a turn and there was only enough room for 1 car to cross that bridge. And you didn't really know until the last minute because the way everything is really weird how they turn, and the streets are just very narrow. But, I drove on the left side of the road, with a right side driving. I mean, it was the weirdest thing, man. The hardest thing for me was making left-hand turns because I didn't know which lane to go in. It drove me nuts, man. Yeah. You turn it across an intersection into a lane, you're like, we're going to go here. And it'd be, nope, wrong area, wrong way, get over. Anyway. But yeah, about the business part, you've been self-employed? I mean, you're self-employed or? Yeah. How long have you been self-employed?
I was. I'm not now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not now. I was for probably about 12 years. Owned a custom car shop, body shop. Built a lot of show cars and stuff like that.
Oh, man. That can be a rewarding business, but I bet you came up against some real smart asses. Thought they knew everything.
It was horrible at times. This was back at the time of like Pimp My Ride and all those shows on TV.
They had money and you're like,
TV station.
Like, dude, I can't make this happen. I don't care how much money you got. It ain't going to work. Oh, come on, man. I know you can do it. Yeah.
At the local TV station, we did a kind of a local Pimp My Ride thing with the TV station,
nice.
all paid for by the TV station
That's
through
pretty
my
cool.
shop. And
Nice.
yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's been self-employed for 50-something years now. He's a GC, as a general contractor builder.
Yep.
And he once told me, I've been in business 29 years, 29 and a half years. And he says, son, no one's going to love your business like you. And once that sunk in, that people that work for you are never going to go the extra mile like you do, then I agree. You have to supervise. It sucks to say that, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I had best friends. I made a mistake of hiring best friends to work in my business, and boy, was that a mistake. Took a full advantage.
Yep.
Never again. Hey Guardians, would you like to give back to our community? If you received any value from today's podcast episode and would like to give back, head over to our website, GuardianDownCast.com, and select the Patreon button to see what extra perks and benefits you can get from the several tiers of membership available. If you would like to give a one-time donation, click on our PayPal button and follow the prompts. Our community runs on our membership, and we never accept outside sponsors or advertisers. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. Speaking of the UK, I had an episode where I talked with several of my UK members. An average Destiny 2 player and I had a conversation concerning the new player experience that ended up as a Destiny Help Desk episode later. Hades joins in at the very end of the conversation as well.
Confusing and convoluted, and we're not talking about a complete revamp here.
Right.
It's just even some in-depth tutorials that would give you the option to learn some of the stuff in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not explained to you what Glimmer does. It's not explained to you about what your artifact does. It's not explained to you about all the separate consumables and stuff you can get in the game. You know, we're not talking about perhaps maybe a whole campaign here of telling you what to do.
Right.
But just some in-depth tutorials would be better than nothing. You know, you don't even get that. You know, just a 5-minute tutorial of telling you how to, you know, pick up bounties, what to do, you know, what these systems mean, etc., etc. That would do it, but there's just nothing in the game that explains the systems. And I kind of understand where Rolfie was coming from, that there's a lot of old players in this game who know what to do, but sometimes you also need to think about new players and getting them into the game and building up the population, because eventually, if you don't get new players in, the old players are going to leave. Your game's going to die.
Yeah,
it you know, that is the fact of it. No matter what your game is, if you don't get new players in, you don't keep new players interested.
And you got to think of the future too. You got to think of bringing people in, thinking about, you know, being even in tune to even look forward to another Destiny. What were the other things on your list? Just shotgun them out. Let me hear what they were.
So, obviously, Hades mentioned about pikes, about vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's now them in the Cosmodrome, which is great, but it doesn't actually tell you how to get off your pike.
Nope.
It tells you how to get on it, but it doesn't tell you how to get off of it.
I was strafing side to side when I first tried using that thing. It just kept going side to side. I'm like, how do I get off this thing? It just kept jerking back and forth. Yeah.
It doesn't tell you it's got a boost to make it. It doesn't tell you it's got a boost to make it go quicker. There's players who actually mentioned in the videos that it took them half an hour to an hour to work out how to get off the pike.
Right.
You know, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say they did. I wanted to mention also that text chat is also open now by default. So you can call people scrubs when you're a new player. You can actually, if you're an established player and they're jumping into a onslaught game with you, you can tell them to eat shit and get better and get good, like Mr. Monkey said. So that's another thing.
I'm sorry about those comments, Gatr.
That's all right.
I'd hope she's not seen those.
No, I know. But you know, so you have to turn that off too, as well as voice. And, they do have, default loadouts now that you can go, and it does have some of the aspects and fragments. So they've helped at least a little bit on that, being that they have preset loadouts now that are popular and work in the game. But Yeah,
I'd love to know how other live service games do onboarding. Because I think that's the issue. That if you bought God of War, say, you play a tutorial that says press this button to make Kratos decapitate men.
Right.
It's really, really easy because it's not an evolving sandbox.
Oh, it'll also tell you this is how you do it. They'll even say, let's try it out. Let's try it out. Try to decapitate this guy. Go ahead, try it. Press these buttons, and it'll even give you the buttons on the screen. That's what they got to do.
But obviously, what we were doing this week was completely different to what we were doing 6 months ago.
That's true too.
So if the onboarding process or whatever was written 6 months ago, it's already out of date. And also, copyright Admiral Nips and Fluffy, you've also got whiny little piss babies on the internet that say, well, I don't want to play an onboarding process. I just want to go and play PvP with my friends. Right. Why do I have to sit through 6 months, 6 hours of learning how to ride a pike? I'm never going to ride a pike. I just want to go and 360 no scopes on
all kinds of different players. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's where the new skip that's where the new skip comes in, isn't it? Basically, if you don't, I mean, I created a new player the other day, right, just to try this out, and you have to play up until you first meet the voter, and then after that, you can choose to skip the new light campaign.
You go right to 1810, right?
You literally go, yeah. Wow. So yeah, because there's that.
Think of all the Destiny Guardians crying right now that spent hours to get to 1810.
Me.
Yeah, me too.
If you don't have any friends that play Destiny 2, that's still not a great. If you just want to jump into PvP, that's fine. That's brilliant. You can get your gear and you can jump in. You can have a whale of a time. But if you just want to be, I don't have to actually do all this rubbish. I can just go straight and start playing the game. Well, you do that. You've got no friends to tell you how this works. Once you skip that new late campaign, you are on your own.
Yeah.
And that is it. You have nothing that tells you how anything works at all.
But then you've got that certain type of player, and like I know for a fact that my kids both fall into this bracket. That if they pick up a game and it says skip tutorial or play tutorial, they just hit skip and think, I'll worry about that later.
You're absolutely right.
Learn as I go.
I want the hit of playing it now. I don't want to do the boring stuff of.
I get what you're saying, but you've got to also bear in mind that how big Destiny is and how many expansions there are and how many quests there are. In these other games that you skip, you can probably just get straight into the story and learn your mechanics as you go along. You can't do that in Destiny. Well, you can, but then if you just want like, well, stuff it, I'll skip the tutorial, I'll just learn as I go along. You suddenly get hit with all these pop-ups and all these quests and all these, you're going to think, whoa, hang on a minute. I wanted to skip this because I wanted to get right into the game. Well, what part of the game do I get right into? Well, you're not actually telling me that, so stuff it. If you're not going to tell me what part of the game I need to get right into, I won't bother playing you. So I do get where you're coming from. And
people don't want to wait.
I completely get where you're coming from as well, Av, because most tutorials it's set in a training center or it's set in a really tame environment where it says, oh, you need to slide onto this thing. Press circle to crouch. Oh, you need to jump over this hurdle. Press X to jump.
Right. They do that with that first story. They say melee.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's what, like I say, I know for a fact that if you put our kids in that, or my kids in that environment, they just think, oh, fuck this. I know that X is always jump.
Okay.
Circle is always crouch. I don't need to do this. I just want to go in. I want to get the instant hit.
Exactly.
What else was on your list, AVD?
Honestly, we could be here all night, so it's probably better off we just.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, honestly, we could be here all night.
I know it's a mess. That's for sure. Yeah.
One of the other things what I will just quickly put across, which does seem to put a lot of players off, is something as simple as the ammo system. So obviously we all know that green lies on the ground and purple lies on the ground, but it could be quite confusing to a new player because they may want to loot some of that heavy ammo and they're running over it, but yet it still just stays on the ground. So it kind of just sort of puts a small thing on the bigger picture of the fact that there are many systems in this game which are poorly explained or not even explained at all. And that actually collectively leads to most new players saying that they feel either confused or overwhelmed. And it is a massive issue because when people get confused, they sometimes decide that that's it to call it quits.
Right.
And that actually seems to be a reoccurring theme for the new light experience.
Yeah. I've noticed most of the new videos that are new player videos that are put out there make a lot of assumptions because they're made by people who've been playing forever like me. And the more you talk about this, the more I want to just do that walkthrough of that first story and just walk through and say, hey, here's your HUD. Hey, see that green block on the ground? Watch what happens when I run over it. You know?
But the funny thing about what you've just said, Av, is how many raids have you been in with people who are relatively experienced in terms of how much time they've spent in it, and you hear someone shout, I need heavy for the next phase, and someone says, there's a heavy block by me, and you think, there might be in your instance, but
not in mine.
Yeah, and that's what you mean. You're completely right that it doesn't explain that the ammo is unique to you. There's so many little factors that are constantly kind of spinning or that people aren't aware of.
That's a good one. I think it was only like middle of this season that I actually properly learnt the difference between heavy finder and heavy scout.
I even found out about that late.
Yeah. I've been playing for however bloody long.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know what scout
admittedly, was. I haven't played a massive amount with a lot of people up until recently-ish, but I think it was only because someone had mentioned in a raid and they were like, someone hasn't got it on, jokingly saying, not having a clue it was me. I was like going, hey, that's this idiot.
Yeah,
bloody
someone told me. Scout. Someone told me in a raid, says you need to have scout on. That way when you find heavy, everyone else sees heavy. I didn't know that. I'm a diehard veteran of this game, and I didn't even know that. All right,
that's basically the basics of it. Is just things are just so poorly explained.
I just don't know if my video would get discoverability or not. There's so many Destiny content creators out there trying to do this right now, and they're doing it poorly. But I mean, Bungie's trying to is leaning on the YouTube community to explain things for him. And that's what made me start this even YouTube channel, because I was tired of, there was nothing really out there that, broke it down for people. So I have videos I put out like a year and a half ago that are still getting views all the time. Monuments of Lost Light video I put out. Still people are, and it's outdated. The information's outdated, but people still watch it. It's just amazing. But, it's a good topic, ABD. I just wish we had more time to talk into it more in depth. And,
do a whole podcast on it.
You really can. Maybe that's on me, because we have so many good topics.
Like help desk.
I thought about that.
Make it like a help desk or something.
I thought about doing a help desk. Yeah. I thought about doing a help desk episode.
If you think about it and you need somebody else to bounce off.
Yeah, I might take you up on that. I've talked to Mr. Monkey too. We're something else we're going to work on too. So, yeah, I haven't put out a help desk in a while because we've been kind of in limbo as far as what's going to happen down the pike. So I've been kind of waiting and seeing, but now I'm starting to get some ideas, and it wouldn't take much to put a show together. So you can see how easily the conversation flows. So, all right, let's get going. We got time on our hands, and you guys are later than me. So, I can't leave out some Kingsley Mac clips, as we have always had great conversations over the years, and probably why he's such a good fit as my co-host. Here are some clips concerning our pets, and then a clip about careers and life. It was a really good discussion.
It's still a youngin'. It's 6 months old, but it's a golden doodle, so it'll be big. I figure it's big for being 6 months old.
My sister has 4 golden doodles. Ooh. My mom has a golden, they call it it's like a Cocker Spaniel doodle.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hyper dog, man.
There is a name of that, too. But those are really great, too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a loving dog. Just full of energy, though, man. It's got a lot of energy. And don't leave any food anywhere. It will steal it in a heartbeat. My dogs don't ever do that. And I got some big 80-pound dogs, and they don't dare even look at my food when I set it out. But, yeah, man. Yeah. Pups are tough, man. Pups are tough. I don't know if I can go through another puppy stage. That was some rough times. Training him, putting him in the crate.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like I haven't had dogs really until I met my wife, and she came with one dog, and then we got one shortly after we started dating. We actually have a third dog now, but the one's probably going to pass soon because he's pretty old. But
yep.
And then we'll go down to like one dog eventually. We're thinking again, and then maybe to 2 eventually, but never 3 again. But all the dogs she gotten in the past were rescues, and that definitely has, and they're pretty good dogs, but that definitely has its issues too.
It can,
and we didn't get to raise them as a. And I know it's a lot of work. I know, but like, I think I would be okay going through that work, just knowing that at least how you train them, you have a little more control being able to train them at that age. We've
rescued several dogs, including 2 greyhounds. They were racers that we rescued, and they were the best dogs ever owned, man. They were already fully trained. They were already house trained, everything. It was great. And it was always amazing. They made a track in my backyard, perfect oval, and they would run all out. It was beautiful to see. They would race each other and run all out for 5 minutes, and they were done. They were exhausted the rest of the day. That's their life. They would run and race, and then they would lay around and sleep all day. That's the way greyhounds. But we've had, I have one that's, I have a lab mix. It's a Rottweiler lab mix, if you can imagine that. Just an all black dog. Looks like I call it the bear. She looks like a miniature bear. And, she's getting up there, man. I can see she's having tummy problems. She's snoring really bad when she sleeps all the time. I think she's 15, I want to say. That's quite old.
Yeah, that's pretty
for a big dog.
Yeah.
So I know that day's coming, and I just hope my wife's not here when it happens. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about getting rescues. I got both my rescues around age 2, and it didn't take long at all to get them trained to go outside. So that was a nice plus. A couple of them that I've had in the past have come fully trained, but puppy stages, man, and it's just the chewing. My
I know.
My mom got that whatever,
and potty training a little bit, right?
Yeah, and their teeth are just so sharp, and they bite. Anyway, it's another story, but my mom dealt with all that with the puppy stage, with that cockapoo or whatever they want to call it. Cocker spaniel poodle.
Poodle. Yeah, cockapoo.
Cockapoo. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that thing's just like, you get there and it's just like so excited. You just don't know it just doesn't know what to do with itself.
I know.
But anyway,
it can take some time, and then a lot of people will. Yeah, they get a puppy, and then once it gets, I think it's like, is it 3 months or 6 months? But that's where it gets really hard, because when they're puppy, sometimes they're a little calm for a bit because they're just so small and young. And then kind of like that 6 months to like sometimes as long as 2 years, it can be, that's the really rough period, because maybe it's 3 months, but anyways, that 3 months to kind of like 1 year period is really rough, because it's, and
your house smells like pee for a while, and you got pee pads everywhere, and you got them in the crate, and they didn't get out. Oh, I've had some rough times with that, but yeah. But, I didn't forget to tell you, I have the vintage Later Guardian t-shirt with the jock strap. Remember the jock strap? The jock strap. This is the Titan helmet. Yeah, we don't, it's limited. We don't have this t-shirt anymore, but, I thought that was cool.
Let me make this bigger too. I'm going to make you bigger here.
Yeah, it's the Later Guardian.
Okay, so there's the jock strap, and then that's like the
jock strap,
just a Guardian Hunter thing or whatever.
Yeah, this is the Warlock, this is the Hunter, this is the Titan, and it's a helmet I really like. But everyone kept talking about the jock strap when we first made this, and it made the rounds. And this is one of the original t-shirts I bought from our our vendor, and I've just kept it.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be cool to wear it tonight since it's old school tonight. So, but well, thanks, man.
That is cool.
That was a lot of fun tonight. Thanks for sticking around. I know it was a little bit more of an extended show. I know you're used to a shorter show, but appreciate it, brother.
It's fine. It's a Friday night. I don't have anything to have to get up for super early tomorrow.
So I'm talking to my son tonight. That's the reason I'm late. We got in a conversation in the gym parking lot. I mean, he's a 20-something. He just got out of college. He's working his ass off as an analyst for like a $28 million real estate company. He does a lot of work, man. But that aside, he's like, Dad, I need to figure out how to make more money. He says, I need to maybe go door to door and figure out how to clean people's gutters and do some pressure washing. And I'm like, son, you have a computer engineering degree from a good college up in Minnesota. You ran all of the testing and tuning for all the computer department up there in your school. They hated to see you go when you graduated because they loved that you helped everyone get their computers squared away. And he's a PC guy. He's not an Apple guy. He's more experienced in everything PC. And I said, son, do you know where you live right now? You live in Florida, Central Florida. It's the retirement capital of the world. I bet you could go up down any neighborhood block and 50% of those houses will need help with their computer. Either tuning it, doing network stuff, setting up your security and your passwords and stuff. There are so many things he can do. He's so good at it too. And he just sells himself short. But, I remember those times when I was in my mid-20s and I didn't think I was worth anything,
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't know if you're keeping a pulse on everything, how the market is these days, but there's a lot of articles that are out.
Uh-huh.
And computer IT stuff, that was more of a millennial thing. A lot of people are getting fired. It's not growing as much anymore.
Yep.
And I just saw an article
I did too.
That said Gen Zers are finding more success in becoming electricians and plumbers than white-collar jobs these days.
Well, here's what I said. And this is how I started my business 30 years ago now almost. I worked in construction with my dad. I had a college degree as well and a business degree. And I was working construction. I was picking up crap in a construction site. I was digging ditches and footers to pour concrete in and, assembling aluminum screen porches and putting roof shingles on and stuff. That's where I learned everything, working with my dad. He did it all. I mean, the man's, he's definitely gifted in that area. But
it doesn't even have to be hard work. If you become like an electrician.
Yeah.
There's not enough plumbers and electricians out there. Those are the two top hurting fields.
Yep.
And I'll send you this article if you're interested. But
yeah, definitely.
Honestly, it's kind of showing how, and this is what I was telling my son too. Like right now, our world goes through cycles, and because of AI, because of a lot of companies are just cutting back in general, money wise.
Mm-hmm.
But the trades are not being cut back. We need more tradespeople.
People hand over money, hand over fists for trades.
And the younger generation are even more likely to do it in a way. I mean, obviously we did our own businesses, but a lot of people that go in the trades don't, right? They just work for someone.
Right.
But a lot of Gen Zers, they have these accelerated things to become like a master electrician. It's unheard of the young age that people can learn all this stuff these days. And then they're starting their businesses and doing really well.
Oh, of course.
At a young age.
There's no competition, Kingsley. There's no competition. Yeah. Like I said, I go up against the big boys. I go up against Massey Services, man. They're like 100 and they bought out Middleton. They're like $150 million a year. And they make $150 million a year. They're like in the top 10 of all of the pest control companies in the nation right now, but they can't compete with me. You know why? Because the guy who works in the office that's college educated, that is very good with people and can sell the account. You still got to have a tech to show up to do the work, and they got to know what the hell they're doing, and they got to be personable, and they got to have all the people skills as well. Well, guess what? I got all that, baby. There's no competition. In fact, my neighbor is the executive assistant to Harvey Massey, the owner. He's passed now. His kids are running it. He would always give me the scoop on what's going on, but they're having a hard time right now just keeping people because nobody wants to work, man. Nobody wants to work. And
sure.
Well, I mean, they work these kids. I mean, I say kids, they're like 20 somethings right out of school. They work them 60 hours a week and pay them like 30, 35 grand a year. It's just peanuts, man. You can't live on that. You can't live on that these days. So what I was telling my son, sorry, I didn't mean to take a detour here. I said, son, what are you doing? You don't need to be cleaning gutters and pressure washing. I mean, if worse came to worse, you can deliver pizzas or do Uber Eats or whatever you have to do, son. But he doesn't have a reliable car. He works from home. He doesn't need a car. I said, but what you need to do, son, is work your 9 to 5. Work your 9 to 5. Make your, I don't know, 50 grand a year. Do the minimum. Do what you got to do. Work hard. I'm not saying skimp. Work hard. Do your job. And on the weekends, just freelance. I'm telling you, that's where the money is now, is freelance work. So many people are getting tired of the corporate layoffs. I mean, we talk about it in the gaming industry all the time right now. People are just
I don't even recommend people go into computer stuff these days because it's so funny. It's like, I think within another 5 years, it's not going to be the hottest market anymore because it's just getting a little oversaturated.
Oh, everything eventually gets saturated.
Well, sure, everything changes, but that's back to my point. Like now, believe it or not, some of the best things to go into is electrician and plumber.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a real example of a Zoomer. My nephew, he just graduated college. He graduated University of Florida with a sports training, physical therapy. You know how hard it is getting that college degree. And he got out of college, no work. There's nowhere to work. So what he did, he went into the HVAC business. He worked under my dad. My dad is HVAC certified. He's certified in everything. And he learned from my dad. He got his apprenticeship and everything through him. He's running his own show right now, making more money than he ever could out of school. And he has no problem finding work. There's so many people who need it. Now, are there a lot of HVAC companies right now in Florida? Oh, hell yeah, because in the summertime, we live inside. We have to have air conditioning. It's life or death. But there's still so much demand. It outweighs any supply of services. So anyway, I was just telling him, listen, I tell you where the money's at, Cam. I said, the money is at freelancing. Freelance, do any kind of, I can bird dog. I can send you all kinds of clients from my clientele that everyone needs help on their computer. He comes over and helps me with my networking, my security, password stuff, all that stuff. And he knows it so well because he did it through his college. And it's such a load off my mind because I always worry about that stuff, where I'm YouTubing and all that stuff. I mean, you're vulnerable. And, I said, son, you don't realize how valuable that intel is. A lot of people could probably figure it out, but they don't want to figure it out. They want to spend their time doing what they like to do. They don't want to figure out how to work a computer, how to fix computers. But anyway, that's where I was. I was talking to him about that, and hopefully I got him fired up. There's a lot of people who work for me, friends of mine, who were super talented, man. They could operate their own business tomorrow, but they would never take the leap because they were too afraid. They clung on to that security of having that paycheck. It was just too scary. And long ago, I realized that it was worth the risk. I took the leap like you did. How did you get into your own business, by the way?
Yeah. So it was similar to that. I mean, I always liked the idea of doing my own thing. My grandfather owned his own business. My dad didn't. He actually worked kind of for my grandfather, but it was his father-in-law, not his father.
Right.
And, getting into computer stuff, I liked the idea, but I'm more of a cautious guy. I'm like, in studying things, I've heard lots of stories of people starting businesses and them failing and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people. I can't afford that. I can't afford to have a business fail. I worked for a couple school districts. Was my first real jobs doing IT for a school district.
Right.
Pretty good benefits, right? Good healthcare, all that stuff. Yeah.
It's the best.
I remember when my first daughter was born, $100 was the total bill for everything.
It's awesome. You can't
all the
it.
OBGYN, hospital, nothing. It was all covered. $100 total bill.
That's one of the detriments of being self-employed. It is really hard to get good insurance. Thank God my wife's a teacher.
Yeah. So I was always kind of scared too, but one good thing that came out of my first marriage, because I'm a second marriage, I divorced first, and my wife at the time said well, you should consider starting a business. I'm like, are you sure? We don't have the money to. I mean, we'd have to get some kind of loan to. It would take a year or two to build up the clientele list to make enough money and stuff.
Very true.
But something with her saying that, but it was more so even an opportunity fell into my lap. I got really lucky, Gary.
Hey, we all get breaks, man.
Right. So there was another company doing kind of what I was doing, and they were looking to get out of it. And I didn't know exactly all the details at the time, but one summer they had a position, work for them as a consultant, and there's an opportunity to take over the business or something. I'm like, well, they're doing Mac support stuff. They also were selling like computers and selling vertical stuff like large format print shop stuff. And I didn't care about all that stuff, but I liked the support side.
Sure.
So I started working for them. Like, yeah, this is good. This is good. And then the owner came up to me and he needed to like, I don't know if he was having money problems or whatever, but like he had an employee or two, which was kind of the stupid part. Like with how much they were bringing on the support side, he shouldn't have had an employee or two, right? Maybe just one.
He didn't plan his business properly, probably.
Yeah. So he was basically doing a fire sale. Like he's like, he saw how good I did with support that summer. And he's like, dude, I'm willing to sell this to you. And I'll just throw out some numbers. These weren't necessarily the numbers at the time, but like, they had a built up customer list of people that paid monthly contracts, right? You know, so like guaranteed income.
It's like a route system with me.
Even if I was to take over the business and I lost like 5% or even 10%, I'd be okay. And I didn't even really lose. I think I lost like one customer when it switched over to me. But I looked at all the numbers. I'm like, whoa, with these monthly paying customers, that's enough for me to survive. And then anything I add on that will be gravy down the road.
Right.
So he sold, again, I'll just come up with a number, but I think it was like 35K was the thing. And even back then it was like bringing in 80K a year. I'm like, dude, that's a no brainer, right? To buy the customer list for 35,000 and all the rights. Probably.
That's a no brainer.
So I did get a little bit of a loan. I did like a little home equity thing in my house. I forget what I did.
Sure.
It was all worth it. Yeah, and I started and I just built it from there. I got more customers, but it gave me the faith to start because I wasn't running from ground zero.
Would you agree with this statement that we've both drank the Kool-Aid? I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. We both drank the Kool-Aid. We can never go back.
Well, of course. Yeah. And there's so much to that. I mean, first of all, my personality type, what we talked about on the previous show.
Right.
I don't like a routine, so I could never do a job like go in 9 to 5. Like I would hate it.
Yeah.
But more so than that, you're right. Like just having my own flexibility, but also it's scary because I'm really glad I own my own business now because I'm hearing a lot of people my age that are getting laid off in computer industries, and I'm getting at that age, even though I'm a little younger than you, where it's really hard if you get laid off to find another job at this age. And I have a few friends there. Can you believe like this would have been unheard of 10 years ago, getting laid off in the IT industry? That's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having a hard time finding something else. Where me, even with the economy doing weird this last year or so, I haven't lost any customers. I'm still doing fine.
Dude, 9/11, I lost 5 accounts. I mean, I've weathered all the storms. We've had hurricanes here in Florida.
The 2008 to 2010 was the scariest one during the housing.
Yeah.
I think I lost a couple.
The housing bust. Right. I remember that.
I don't remember 9/11 being so bad. Oh, because I didn't have my business.
Dude, 9/11, 2001. It put a pause button. I started in 95, so.
Okay.
I was fairly new in business. I mean, if you think about it, 2001, I've been in business, 6 years? I got my stuff established. I mean, I had a home. I had young kids. I mean, young kids. I had kids like 3 or 4 years after I started my business. So, and I got married in 92. So, I mean, I didn't waste any time, man. I got married. I realized real quick. I said, you know what? One, I can do this better than my uncle I was working for at the time for a lot more money. I saw the profit margins. I was like, man, there's no way. And secondly, I really love doing this stuff. I bumped into this work. I was not looking to be an exterminator. My dad said, hey, call your uncle. He needs a tech right now. I'm like, pest control? Really? I just come from auto part retail manager. And I was retail is rough, man. Back then especially, and here I am 2 years later. I realized I need to get 3 years apprenticeship with a company, which my uncle never signed off for because he thought I was taking customers, and I was not taking customers. I stuck to my non-compete.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's here nor there. It's under the bridge. It's water under the bridge. But
those things happen.
But you know what though? Things like that fuel you to get out of your comfort zone. And I'm so glad that happened because I probably would have never done it. I'd probably be working for an exterminating company or something right now, like I was back then.
Yeah.
Take a little pressure sometimes. It helps.
For sure. And one last funny story about my side when I was starting, and then I go to my boss at the time at the school district, right?
Right.
I have my cushy job there, even though it didn't pay great. I mean, I started making a lot more money but it was solid.
Yeah.
I go to my manager, and it's so funny. I tell him, like, I'm going to go out my own, and he's like, ooh, well, are you sure you want to? A few people have tried that, and they always come crawling back. They always coming asking for their job.
And I'm sorry, who are you again? Yeah.
Dude, I didn't go into this blind. I did the research. I have all these monthly contracts that I'm not starting from scratch. And no, I did not come crawling back. I did well.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy when people go for it and do well. I'm really happy for you, man. Well, yeah. I guess we better get to a show tonight. Otherwise, we'll be talking till 4 a.m. and that's not good. So, lastly, the one thing that I always save for our patrons is the bloopers. And even though there are so many to choose from, I only have room for just a few tonight as a parting gift. Well, hey, everyone. Remember, as you're playing Witch Queen, take breaks, whoa.
Witch Queen?
Whoa. I got to change
You're
those
like
notes.
an expansion behind.
I got to change those notes.
You mean Lightfall?
Yeah. Why didn't I change this? Never mind. So please welcome the two hosts of the Myths and Z Stories podcast, Mythborn and Zoralius. Damn it. Say it again.
Zorialis. You're good.
And is it Z Stories?
Stories. So as if you're saying stories, but with a Z.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll do this.
A play on his name and a play on my name.
Gotcha. All right. Let me repeat this sentence. Well, when I spoke to Myth and Zoralius, to Zor, I'm going to say it again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this segment is called The Speed Run. This is where we have a database of over 800 randomly asked questions. Oh my God, I just said it, didn't I? Oh my God, I just said those words. We have a database of over 800 questions asked at random. And, I know why now. This is my old script. That's going to be an outtake. Hold on, that's going to be an outtake. On our player support report, Davis, what's going on in the player support report this week, man?
Current issues.
So, no, we don't go through that shit.
I really don't want to read any of this.
No, people. It's kind of a gag. Everyone just says shit's broken. It's something Hazel started a long time ago. You want me to start it again? I'll blend it in. Here we go. I'll do it again. Yeah, I mean, the Gators lost again. I'm not gonna be in a bad mood all week. I mean, they're rebuilding.
Yeah, you should be used to it after the last decade.
Like I said,
once they got rid of the murderers, they started sucking.
Like I said, I'm not gonna let it get to me at all. So yeah, I'm just, you know what I am waiting for? I'm waiting for Brady to finally get hit enough times and just say, fuck this and walk off the field. I got $100 million waiting at Fox. I'm out. So I think he's going to pull an Antonio. He's going to pull an AB. He's going to pull an Antonio Brown. He's going to take his shirt off, run and wave it through the air and say, I'm out. Hey, Guardians. These, no. Hey Guardians, would you like to send a question for the show to us? There are 4 ways to do it. First, you can join our Discord server at discord.gg/GuardianDownCast. There's also a join link in our show notes down below. We have Guardians from all walks of life and all over the world, from new lights to day one players to hardcore gamers. There's also a channel labeled Podcast Questions where you can type in your question for the show. So come hang out with us. You can also email us with your question at guardiandowncast@gmail.com, or we also occasionally post about our upcoming show and guest, and you can respond there with your question at Guardian_D_cast is our X handle. Finally, you can send us a voicemail with your question at guardiandowncast.com, and we might play it on the podcast. Think of it as talking with us right on the show. Thanks for listening, and later, Guardian. Before I go today, I wanted to share an episode from my new podcast, 50 Years Experience Required. And hopefully you got to listen to my episode 0 in last week's show. This week, I'm sharing episode 1. If you'd like to follow for future episodes, I'll leave the Spotify and Apple Podcast links in the show notes. And be sure to tell me what you think in our GDC feedback channel of our Discord. Or you can just email me at ToddtheGatr@gmail.com. Okay, here it is. Hey, on today's show, the topic is money. You know, that thing that makes the world go round, right? Well, it took me over 25 years to learn a very difficult lesson about it. And in this episode, I explain why, and more importantly, what I realized in the end that has changed my attitude towards it for the future. Okay, let's roll. Have you ever made a mistake in life and wish you could go back and get a do-over? I've learned that life is a game that has no resets, no extra lives, and certainly no manual to guide you through all the joys and challenges of living to your full potential. This podcast is all about observations, life lessons, and interesting stories that make up my 50-plus years of trial and error. Join me for weekly topics about everyday living, love, success, and failure, and how we all learn from them. Welcome to 50 Years Experience Required. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Before I begin today's episode, I have to come clean with you guys. I had an ulterior motive when I decided to create this podcast. I'm not what you could consider cheap in my more advanced years, and I'm not the type to be obsessive and wanting to be buried with all my money. I can sure think of people that would want to do that. But when it comes to things like therapy, I may be a little stubborn and, I'm a little cheap. It's just tough for me to share my feelings with a person 6 feet away. Maybe it's my macho side that is too afraid to open up to a real person. There's things that I wouldn't even share to my wife of 32 years. This podcast is kind of my way of getting out my inner thoughts, things that will make me shake my head in disbelief to more vulnerable things like money problems and insecurities. I've changed quite a bit since my early days of marriage in my 20s. Money is not the main driver of my life anymore. There are things that money really can't buy. But who are we kidding? It certainly can make things a little bit easier in how we do things in life. I must preface this episode by stating that I am not a financial expert, and all of this advice I offer today is from trial and error over years of my life. And my goal today is that I save you the frustration and trauma that I had to endure over many years. So let's get started. Today's episode is all about the almighty dollar. This little piece of paper backed by our government has stressed me out for so many years, but these days, it doesn't quite have the hold over me that it used to when I was a young married guy trying to wrap my head around, how am I going to support this woman who put all her faith in me as her partner? Don't get me wrong, having some extra money is great. In fact, when I get a little guilt-free money, my ADHD brain tends to get a little bit impulsive looking for a reason to spend it. But what I want to share is my addictive past with money and how you can avoid some of the mistakes that I made way back then. I was raised by wonderful parents. My dad was self-employed and my mom stayed home to raise myself, my brother, and my sister. My dad never wanted us to be without, so he would work from sunrise to the dark of night every day, and sometimes even on Saturdays. He is the most driven person I know, and even today, in his late 70s, his mind is still going strong, like his 30-year-old self did. The point I'm trying to get across here is that life was pretty okay. We lived in a new house that my dad built with his own hands. I helped too. I wore all the latest clothes in school, and I was never in doubt of where the next meal came from. I realize some of you were probably not as lucky. Being the firstborn in my family, my parents wanted to make sure I received a college education, and apart from having a job on the side to help keep me flush with some extra spending money, I rarely went without. Looking back now, I am very grateful that my parents supported me the way they did, wanting nothing in return. Years pass, and school is complete, and that moment of leaving my parents' house to live with my new bride in a tiny little one-bedroom apartment has become a reality. Now I was the man, and paying bills was something I took for granted in my younger years. Rent, utilities, car payments, fuel, groceries, insurance. It was a lot. And my wife and I work retail jobs to make ends meet. Maybe a few bucks at the end of the month if we were lucky. A realization came into my head that a lot of you can probably relate to. Man, this is hard. How am I supposed to get ahead here? I imagine this thought probably hits home with many of the country's working class these days. As time passed, Opportunities arose, and we started to make a little bit more money. So much that we decided to buy a house. I was so over the apartment life, as I grew up on 20 acres with no neighbors and the noises that came with it. My wife's grandmother had accumulated a small inheritance for her, and we used most of it as a down payment on our very first home. I still remember to this day when we went to look at our future home. The sellers asked us where our parents were. I don't know. I guess they're at home eating dinner, I said with a condescending grin. I may have been a little defensive back then. I tell you all of this to kind of give you some background on how I got into a really bad place in my life. So bad that my marriage was truly put to the test. It's the number one reason most marriages end these days. Money problems. The thing that really pisses me off today is that public schools really don't make personal finance a required subject, especially in high school. Most of us have to be punched in the face to learn that valuable lesson, sometimes at a moment too late to salvage a relationship. I saw how well my parents lived, and I figured that was my goal, to establish the same standard of living. I mean, that's the only example I had to go by. Enter debt. The number one thing that has really affected my life in a negative way is debt. Credit cards, second mortgages, credit lines, car payments, and personal loans. To me, this is a disease that decays all of our personal wealth, especially when we're just getting started in life. Debt has become so predatory today that it should be avoided at all costs. It's like seeing the Grim Reaper. Run. My first introduction to credit was in my junior year in college. They were giving away a free t-shirt, and all I had to do was fill out a credit application. I mean, I was the typical dude. I'll be happily to take that free t-shirt for doing nothing. They're not going to give some dude with a part-time job any credit card. But when they told me that I now had $1,000 to spend any way I wanted, it was empowering and my mind started racing. Well, let's see, what can I get for $1,000? So my very first purchase on my first credit card in my very own name was $1,000 in rims and tires for my Camaro. I wasn't even paying the payment on the car. My parents were covering it for me so I wouldn't get distracted from my job as a student. I gotta admit, that car looked awesome with new tires and that shiny new Inky 92s. That was the brand and model of the wheels back then. Still remember them today. What I didn't realize is that a minimum due of $32 was required 30 days later. And I had a few bucks left from my part-time job, so I was able to cover it. 12 months pass, and I realized that my amount that I owe now has increased to $1,150. Whoa, wait a minute. I've been paying $32 every month on time for a year now. How do I owe more? Well, we all know why. Over-the-limit fees, interest fees, and annual dues all kicked in. And you would think right then and there I had learned my lesson. Oh no, I was getting all kinds of offers from other credit cards, and it felt amazing. I kept telling myself, I'm building my credit, and now I'm officially an adult, was, my thinking in my head. But how naive I was. Before I knew it, I had accumulated over $8,000 in credit card debt. And I had to now work more in my part-time job in order to cover these minimum payments. School had to take a back seat for now, and my time spent to study and pass my courses began to wane. This is the trap that starts the dominoes, and so many young adults out there don't even see it coming. They might have known to avoid this if they had only been taught about it in high school. But I digress. It seems that credit cards are a necessity these days just to keep your head above water. Cars break, you need a new mower, the kid's preschool payment is due. It never ends, and credit cards can be a nice bridge to cover any gaps in cash flow. But all it takes is one bad month where you can't cover the credit card repayment, and the dominoes begin to fall. To make things worse, I use credit cards to keep up my standard of living. Like I said earlier, my parents' lifestyle was impressive, but unobtainable as a young married couple. What I failed to realize is that my parents also struggled to keep things afloat when they first got married. It's a part of growing up, I guess. But I was never told about their early starts in life. All I saw was how they were doing now. You can probably figure out where I ended up. I was hiding purchases from my young wife, and I just told her that I had the money, deep down knowing all too well that the price would soon have to be paid. Eventually, I had to come clean with her, and once she realized how much I had piled up, I was surprised she didn't run back to her parents. But this also showed her strength and character and why I needed to fix this now. Getting out of debt was humbling, even embarrassing. It's one of the single toughest challenges in my life. Just an aside here, I was watching some old home movies of past Christmases where I was giving my wife these lavish gifts, and I remember her asking, "How can you afford this?" Not knowing that I had maxed out the Dillard's department store card to pay for her Christmas. Watching this back, all I could do was shake my head in shame. What an idiot, Todd. This path had started in college, and I really thought I could keep it all under control. Once you get those balances up on credit cards or other debt, you stop working for yourself and instead become an indentured servant to the banks. The compound interest alone can make it seem like an impossible hole to climb out of. If this situation is a reflection of your current state of affairs, my first advice to you is to get momentum and start getting some small wins to bolster your resolve. Attack those small little credit card balances first, and then hide, or even better, destroy the card. But don't close the account out though, as we all have to play that credit score game, right? To get approved for things that matter, like a house. The key to raising your credit score is a term called debt utilization, and you want to keep this number under 30% to keep your credit score numbers up. Hey, don't hate the player, man. Hate the game. Use these open credit lines like a ghost ship. Does anybody remember that movie, Ghost Ship? If you don't, Google it. If you haven't seen it, it is chilling. Where was I? Oh, open credit card accounts are like those floating ships around never being used. Banks like to see that you have credit but don't need to use it. It's like playing hard to get. The more you make them think you don't need them, the more credit they will offer you. I love this game, so I'll say, "Oh, sure, I'll take that credit line increase. Thank you." Knowing all too well that this increase in credit only helps with my credit score if I don't use it. Play the game, and when this magical credit score number needs to be accessed for something that matters, like a house, you'll be all set. I play finances like a game. It shouldn't be emotional at all. The best way to play it and remove the emotion is my next piece of advice. Create a household budget. Make a column of incoming money sources and then itemize all the outgoing expenses. Include everything that requires you to open your wallet, no matter how small. And be honest, you're only fooling yourself if you hide any of the little things. Once you know where your money goes, then you can begin to have the power over your financial life. I have two budgets, one for my business and one for my personal household. I can tell you exactly what I spend on TV streaming services a month, down to my monthly dollars I spend on drinks on my bowling league. Some other things that I learned about myself as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser is, first, I now know that I cannot trust myself having extra credit cards in my wallet. In a moment of weakness and impulsivity from my ADHD, which might be a future topic, I will ultimately use them. So only debit cards for my personal or business go into my billfold. The great thing about debit cards is if you don't have the money in the account, you'll not be tempted to use the card. That is a great way to build that financial reasoning when it comes to spending. So no credit cards in the wallet. I use my credit cards to continue to build my credit score with the debt utilization plan that I mentioned before, but they sit in my safe at home. And every month I don't carry a balance, my credit scores tend to go up a little bit. So my advice to you is to make that budget. And next, determine what things you buy are your weak moments where you can't say no. I have to be honest, I still have this battle in my head every day. But over time, you can build better spending habits. The second thing I learned is that when I did have a lot of debt, I had a lot less money to spend for myself and my family. I also couldn't even remember what things I did purchase. Now, I know this sounds like a redundant statement, and of course, you have less money. But the real reason is the interest payments go up, and they start to zap those minimum amounts due every month. You know, the amount of principal that goes to actually pay off your debt. And let's not even mention those late fees if you're not organized. So don't work for the banks. Start working for yourself and begin to pay yourself first. Even if you have to start with a small amount, $5 a month will begin to build things up like an emergency fund for those times when the water heater does break or that power bill is a little bit higher than you budgeted for. There are many more tips that I'd love to mention here, and maybe I'll revisit this topic in a later episode. But for now, start today and get control of your financial life. If you don't know where your money goes, then how are you supposed to control your future and get ahead? I realized all too well the dangers of buying things on a whim and not worrying about how to pay it back. Let's take back control and make money work for you. But that's a topic, of course, for another day. Hey, I wish you all the success of a financially free life. This is just one of many life lessons that I had to learn the hard way from trial and error. See you next time. Before I go, I wanted to share my experience with our Guardian Downcast UK meetup this week. Whenever I meet up with members of our community face-to-face, I'm always a little apprehensive of that good old imposter syndrome that starts to seep into my head. You know, you feel like you know these gamers when you chat with them online, but in reality, you always hope that they're not disappointed when they do see you in the flesh. But I must say that the UK members I met with this past week were very gracious hosts to myself and my wife. I felt so welcomed into this group of gamers that love the community as much as I did starting at nearly 6 years ago now. It was such a rewarding experience hearing about each of their lives, and I feel that my life was, enhanced by getting to know these great people. Nearly each and every one of our members gave me a big bear hug when I met them initially, and all of that nervous energy just kind of melted away in an instant. Before I left the US to visit the UK, I asked the community if they wanted me to pass on any questions for our UK meetup, and here's how it all went down. All right, welcome everybody. We are at the Guardian Downcast meetup for the UK contingent, and I just wanted to first go around and have everybody introduce themselves. So we'll start with Mr. Ralphie.
I'm Ralphie. Pleasure to have you on this shores. You're very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet you in person.
And who's this gentleman?
Yeah, I'm Zuby, and it's been a great pleasure to have you here with us, Todd.
Thank
honestly.
you, man.
Thank you very much for creating all
Very
of
nice.
this. Without you, I wouldn't be here.
It's the male model of the group, everybody.
I can pass the microphone on now. Yeah.
All right. And who's next?
Hello, I am Super Green.
Hello.
Welcome.
And she coordinated this activity here in the...
Only the food.
Thank
Just
you
the
very
food.
much. Thank you for coordinating that.
Thank you for bringing the sunshine.
Thank you. Who's this
Hi,
gentleman?
I'm Aptos. It's great to have you on one of our meets, the third one so far. Look forward to joining the podcast.
Thank you. Oh boy.
Mr. P King here. Gilded Conqueror and 0.1% player PvP in the world. Thank you for coming over, Todd, and welcome.
I gotta have this guy on the show. I don't know who this dude is. He's right across from me here. Who's this guy?
Hello, it's Hades. A decent quality mic. This is weird. It's absolutely mental to be sat opposite the ToddtheGatr.
I haven't heard that voice in a while. It's good to have him back. And who's this?
Hey everybody, I'm Av. Some of you may know me already, some of you might not. But as to echo the whole group, it's very good to have you on our shores, and we appreciate you starting to bring us all together and making us know each other through the podcast. So thank you.
Average. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you in person. I heard this is your first meetup. So yeah, that's very nice. Who's this young lady?
Hi, I'm Cami. I came all the way from Canada, and it's a very pleasure to meet you, Todd, and everyone else in this meetup.
Nice to meet you too. From Toronto. Very nice.
From Ottawa.
International guest here.
Ottawa.
and who is this next gentleman?
Hello, I'm Livio, aka Ash.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
and you three, the last three we just talked here, have a new podcast. You guys want to mention that?
We do, yeah. It was with the Ash Hour Show podcast. We've got
We're done 4 episodes. We're going to be recording episode 5 soon.
So it'll be quite cool. And got a few little things up in sleeves, won't we? So, sleeves? I don't know, whatever.
It's very cool. They do a ride-along interview. It's a really cool concept. I like it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Thank you for being here today. And of course, the man of the hour, the man who bribed me with elbow tickets to come to this great country.
That's what I needed to do.
Who is this gentleman?
Hey everybody, this is Heyoka, or Doc. We're currently sat in the Crota's End pub in Stratford-upon-Avon. You heard it.
Thank you, sir.
And this is a day that many of us thought we would never, ever have the pleasure of seeing. So to have you here sat with us is just incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you, everybody. I'm very humbled that you guys decided to even show up today. It's very cool. Very cool experience, let me tell you. When you meet community members face to face, it's a very cool thing, let me tell you. Lack of my vocabulary. It's cool, yes. But I wanted to start out. We had questions from our Discord community, and I reached out to our American part of our Discord community, and they had questions for you in the UK, and I'm just curious what you guys have an answer to. The first question was from our buddy Soccer, and he said, "Who's the plonker of the week?"
Well, we can say that's definitely Hades. He's sat right next to me.
Hades across from me is wearing the plonker jacket.
100%.
And you said that was a fluid thing at the meetup, that everyone gets the jacket depending on something that happens at some point.
Yeah. In theory, it's the jacket gets passed around. In practice, I seem to live in this jacket. Apparently, pink is my color.
Looks good.
Yeah,
looks good on you. What you probably don't know is Hades and Doc Heyoka met me at halfway point before we even showed up here today. So thank you guys for doing that. My gosh, what a country! Fantastic place. All right, next question we had is from Heyoka. Another pint of Guinness, Doc?
Yes, please, Todd.
Okay, all right. Okay, another question we had is from Kilvin, one of our newer members. Mushy peas, just why?
I'm going to pass you on to the professional over there of Rolfie.
So, a little bit of context on mushy peas. This is the reason me and Danger Powers fell out. Over here in the UK, we have a variety of pea that we mush, and it is known in our fish and chip shops, restaurants, as a staple. But I'm going to ask the question back to you, Todd. You've had your first experience of mushy peas today. How did that go?
I must admit, I was very impressed. I didn't think I'd like it because I'm not usually a green pea lover, but it tasted a lot for Americans over there. If you've ever had lima beans, even out of the can, it tastes just like that. It's very good. I actually enjoyed them. A little bit of salt. Very good.
It's a really complex recipe, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure.
You take peas, you add a lot of sugar and salt, boil them down until they're mush.
Really?
And that's a mushy pea.
I was impressed. They were very good. I liked them. Okay, we got NYC, or Necromancer, one of our clan admins. He said, what is the real deal with that blood sausage for breakfast, yay or nay? Is this black pudding?
Do we have any professionals on black pudding?
Hades, all right, Hades.
Back to me. Black pudding, as it's actually known, is incredible, and you should come all the way over to the UK to try it. With any breakfast at all, or even just put it in like a bacon sausage sandwich, problem solved.
That's the final vote? Oh, yay or nay? Sounds pretty good. Blood sausage, yes, for most of you guys? Okay. And then we had finally a question from Barrel Barley, 406. He said, this is kind of hits home for me, but I'm curious what you guys think. He says, how is gaming as a hobby seen by the older generations in the UK? Some people in the States will look at you cross-eyed when you say your hobby is gaming. I'd like everyone to comment.
I'm going to put you on to the older generation.
Hey.
Thank you very much, Hades. I do get some odd looks whenever I tell people that someone my age does actually hang out with a load of younger people that he met online. And I don't know whether that's more weird than these guys hanging out with some older guy they met online. But the GDC community is certainly one community that lets me be an older gamer. I wonder, you know what that's like, Todd?
I don't know.
You know what it's like. And even with the hands that cramp the next day after doing a raid.
I don't have cramping problems. Sorry, no. Must be your ballerina or your ballet.
Maybe.
Your ballet.
I'm not talking about my knees. I'm talking about
your ballet
years.
ears.
But this is a community that really does allow us slightly older gamers, and some of the older gamers to feel like we're welcomed and belong and accepted, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, the cool thing I like about it is there really is no age here. We're all members of a community we love to be involved in. We all love to talk Destiny or whatever game we're playing at the moment. And let's speak to our podcasters over here. What do you guys think? What does the older generation think about you as a gamer?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm kind of on the sort of scale of I don't really care what anybody thinks. Age is nothing but a number, you know. As long as you enjoy it, doesn't matter what age you get to, as long as you love doing it, you just keep on doing it. And but I suppose, you know, some people think that gaming is a bit for the younger generation, but I mean, let's be honest with you, we were brought up when games were proper. You know, your first PlayStation, your SNES, you know, that's when gaming was, you didn't have to pay extra for DLC, you just brought the game and you played it and you loved it. And you know, it's just one of the greatest feelings, and achieving something as well in a game. Like, you know, we all play Destiny 2.
Totally get it.
When we achieve that raid completion, we get that exotic drop. No matter what your age is, the feeling is still good as today as it was when you were 18, 19, 20. So, you know, keep doing it as long as you love it. And if people either think that it's for the younger generation or look down on you because you do it, they'll, you know, you just keep being you and keep enjoying it.
Well said, Average.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to pass to my esteemed next host, Ash, for him to answer this one as well.
Otherwise known as Liverpool.
Liverpool. Oh, damn. Live evil.
I said it right the first time.
You did, yeah, definitely did. Yeah. Same as Av. Age is just a number, really. Yeah. Doesn't matter how old you are, games are for everyone. And it doesn't really matter what other people will say. If you enjoy something, you enjoy it.
Heck
yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. What do you think, Cammy?
What's that? As one of our female contingents.
Well, Av is like our spokesperson, so yeah. But basically, yeah. I mean, if you're passionate about something and you enjoy it, why not do it, right? So as long as it's legal. But yes, gaming is a whole new thing where it's basically for all ages, and I think if you're passionate about it, then you should definitely just, you know, go for it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cammy. Oh, yes. Man, I wish I had a way to pipe him in. Uncle Scumdeath himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scumdeath is live.
How are you? How are you doing? Good to see you,
cool,
brother.
man. Listen, got you to can't get there, like, you know, devastated.
Yeah, I hear you, man. How's your
I'm so cool. If I went on holiday in 2 days' time, then I would have definitely have been there, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Good timing.
So you're leaving for South Africa here, what, in another few days? A couple days?
Yeah, Tuesday we're going, yeah. So it's the first holiday in 31 years. A beach holiday, anyway.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, I'm sorry I can't meet you in person, man. I heard so many good stories about you, man. I know me and you would get along pretty well. We listen to the same music.
Yeah, too right, mate. Yeah, big time. It would have been fantastic to meet you all, like, you know, next time.
This is my wife, Jennifer, by the way. She came to visit today, too. This is Uncle Scott you're hearing about.
Yeah, I've heard you.
Common conversation about Uncle Scumdeath. It's good to see you, man. Very good to see you.
Nice time, man.
We're having a great time. So I wanted to give a big shout out to some of our UK members that took the time in their busy lives to meet up with this old crusty podcaster and gamer. First, a big shout out to Cammy and Live Evil. Cammy had traveled all the way from Ottawa, Canada to meet up with everyone this week, and she was such a delight to meet and always had a beautiful smile on her face. Live Evil was someone that I didn't really know that well, but he has drunk the Kool-Aid when it comes to podcasting, and I wish him all the best in his new podcast, which is called, by the way, the Asherage Show Podcast, where he does something called a ride-along, where they interview a guest while playing Destiny. I thought that was a great twist, actually. So check them out if you get the chance, and I'm happy to lend them any advice going forward into the podcasting space out there. A big shout out to Super Green, who chose the pub and made all the prior arrangements and set us up in a very nice nook of the Pen and Parchment pub in Stratford upon Avon. I think the entire pub was curious what all these people were doing. I loved it. Another huge shout out to my man Aptos, who not only made me a custom embroidered tee last year that was shipped all the way across the Atlantic, but surprised me with a really nice quality looking hoodie when I met him. He also made a custom sign representing the Brickcord for my birthday, which I will hang in the background of my office for my next stream. From what little time I got to know him, this is a guy I'd love to sit down with and just talk it out with. I have a feeling this guy has some interesting things to share, and who knows, maybe we can host him on a future show. He has an open invitation if he hears this. Next is the stud of our group, Zuby, which through some help, Aoka, I now can call him by his first name. Yeah, it's not Trent like I thought. This Londoner made quite the drive over to meet us, and I'm happy to have met him. He has inspired me to get back into the gym to work out because, damn, he is a specimen to behold. Zub, I hope you hear this and are blushing. You're such a class act, my dude. The next man I want to give a shout out to is Mr. P. King, which I have to tell you was the life of the party. His wit and timing is on point, and I must say, I can envision us both shoulder to shoulder singing it out loud at a karaoke bar somewhere in London. I would, of course, need some liquid courage to do it, but I somehow feel we could get along just fine. Thank you, brother, for keeping a smile on my face the entire day, if you hear this. Then there's Rolfie, the mild-mannered giant of a man who gave me a big bear hug as well. I wanted to thank his lovely wife who gave him the weekend pass to meet up with us as a newish dad of a little girl. I can imagine it was a very generous act from her, especially on Father's Day weekend. Rafi was one of our roundtable episodes a while back, and I was so eager to meet him in person. He sat next to my wife at the table and always made my wife feel welcomed in our little group of geeky gamers out there. Thank you for that, sir. A big shout out to my friend Av. We've had so many conversations about Destiny and podcasting for years now, and I was so happy to see him there, as this was his first appearance on the now third meetup of the UK group, the Brickcord. He is quite the intelligent person and shares hosting responsibilities with Live Evil and Cammy in their new podcast, the Astrid Show podcast. Thank you, sir, for sharing your day with us, and it was nice to put a face to the average Destiny 2 player persona that I've experienced over the years. Cheers, mate. Then there's this guy named Hades. He surprised me at the pit stop when we were on our way to go to the meetup at Stratford. I've known Hades for years now, and I loved it when he used to send in those sarcastic voicemails to the show in the past. Always giving me shit along the way, which I gotta admit, I kind of loved it. He showed me his new Suzuki 650 that he now rides, which gave me a relief from the days he told me about his little 125 Honda riding in the rains in the Wales countryside going to work every day. The man has courage, I'll give him that. As much as he wanted to give me shit this day, he was a gentleman and a gracious host, and a plonker for the day, I believe. I'll never forget getting a coffee that beautiful morning. Just be careful out there on that bike, sir, as driving all these roundabouts while I was there became a stressful moment to me. I can't imagine doing it on a bike in a cold rain. Thank you. I really wanted to talk to the man himself, Uncle Scumdeath, but the timing was unfortunately unlucky. He was finally getting a vacation with his family after many years, and it happened to be on the week of our meetup. He did a video chat with us, though, at the table, and although we are probably very different people in life, I was hoping to shake his hand and give him a big hug. I so look forward to his Scumdeath Corner segments in our show every week and sharing his life with us. He is a class act. Maybe next time, Lee. I finally have to give the biggest of shout-outs to the orchestrator of this wonderful meetup, Mr. Heyoka. This trip all began with a single photo of 2 tickets to see Elbow live at the National Arboretum, and while I thought it was a long shot to make that concert, he is the one that got the wheels turning for this. This gentle giant of a man, he's at least 6'4", was the very first to meet me, and I must say, has made me feel the most welcome in his country. He made sure my pints were full and never allowed me to pay for anything at the meetup. If there is a picture of the most selfless man, he would probably be there with his arms wide open. I only wish I can return the favor for him if he's ever in Central Florida again. I truly enjoyed my time meeting him and his wife at dinner one night. We had a steak dinner, and also his son and his son's girlfriend at the concert. My hope is that we can become lifelong friends, even though there is an ocean between us now. Thank you, Doc, for accommodating my wife and I on our trip, where it can be very intimidating coming to a foreign land. And let this be a lesson to all of us that love and friendship will always prevail amongst all the seemingly evil and hate that seems to be spreading more and more around the world these days. 18 years later, it was Doc who convinced me to make a return trip. If members of our community are thinking about meeting up for a day or a weekend, or even just a quick lunch, do it. You never know how it'll turn out if you don't try it. So I say go for it. As I sit here in my office, kind of going back over the week that I had in the United Kingdom, I can't get these 4 words out of my head. Thank you, UK. Next week, Kingsley, Mac, and I are back for our live Guardian Downcast shows on YouTube, Twitch, and in our Discord live. We hope you guys will show up and interact with us in the chat. That'd be awesome. We'll have a brand new guest of the show to start things off, so I hope you guys can make it. Well, that's a wrap. Another episode in our collection. For our new listeners out there, we have 308 other episodes with interviews from gamers all over our community, whether it's talking Destiny or whatever on our roundtable episodes. So take a look at those, especially if you're just finding out about us. And if you like what you hear, tell a friend about us. All you got to say is, hey, check out GuardianDowncast.com. Special thanks to my co-host, Kingsley Mac. You can find him in our Discord. I also have his links in the show notes as well. If you like to follow his socials, you can contact me at ToddtheGatr all across the socials and gaming platforms. Remember, that's 2 Ds and GATR. You can also reach me via email at guardiandowncast@gmail.com. Remember, as you're playing Final Shape, Ride of the Nine, take breaks, get outside, and touch grass. Guardian Downcast UK members. Everyone, remember, we're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. And be good to your fellow Guardians in the Destinyverse.
Guardians are measured by their ability to come back from defeat. So stand. Fight!
Thank you all so very much for listening. And later, Guardian.
So, Todd, one other thing before we say goodbye. We know it's your birthday next week. You're going to be in the country. We won't get the chance to wish you happy birthday on Tuesday. So we've got a little gift to you from all of us in the pub. This is something for the office.
PS5?
Who knows what it is? But there's just one thing we wanted to say.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear ToddtheGatr.
Happy birthday to you.
Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray.
Thank you. That was very nice. You get this is more singing than I get at my family birthdays. We have almost everyone in our family has birthdays in June. So I just came from a big family, like we do a dinner for everything, for everybody's birthday. So they've already kind of celebrated mine already, even though I'm not there anymore. But thank you guys. It really means a lot. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, I agree with you. What you need to do, watch your Glimmer as well. Because you can't get anything without Glimmer. And you can't get Glimmer without doing all the high-end stuff as well. It's even worse.
Wait, you agree with me?